Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my most humble obeisances unto your lotus feet. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Bhakti, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, all glories to Srila Gurudeva. Thank you so much for joining us today. And on behalf of the whole Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Swami Sanga team, I would like to warmly welcome all of you to our last, but not least, session of our wonderful online Vyasa-puja ceremony, the celebration, celebrating the 72nd appearance day of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. And over the last 3 days, we have had 4 wonderful, inspiring, enthusiastic, loving, nectarian sessions, with which we are celebrating the life and legacy of our beloved Param Guru, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. So thank you so much for joining us from all over the world. We have such a diverse audience. But before we start, I would like to kindly ask the permissions and blessings of our Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Swami, to begin the session.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
With the blissful program.
Thank you so much, Gurudev. Thank you so much for your blessings and permission. And now we have a few announcements. So before we begin, I would just like to tell everyone that we have, as you probably know, for the people that are new here, you might not know, but we do have language interpretation into the Portuguese language today. And I will just go over the instructions for Portuguese speakers in Portuguese. Olá, queridos devotos, Hare Krishna. Para aqueles de vocês que estão chegando agora, temos a interpretação, tradução simultânea em português, já está disponível, então é só clicar no globinho no canto inferior do lado direito da tela, e aí vocês vão ver um menu, só clicar no ícone português e vocês terão acesso no desktop. Já no celular tem o ícone dos 3 pontinhos, e só clicar ali, depois no globo, e vai ter um menu, só clicar no canal português e depois done, vocês terão acesso à tradução simultânea. Muito obrigada, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. And now, so just to let you know, we do have assistance here for you. If you have any technical issues, we kindly ask you to write in the chat box to ask your servant, and any technical issues about anything or any doubts that you may have, kindly write to ask your servant, and we will try our best to solve any issues that you may be encountering. Okay, and now we would like to present the schedule for this last session. So, our wonderful last session, we will start off today with an interview with Her Grace Mother Upanishad, and she will be joined by a surprise guest, which is a dear friend of Bhakti Tirtha Swami's from Princeton, who is Mr. McCrae, and he will be joining her in this interview that will be done by two special devotees, His Grace Madhavacharya Prabhu and Mother Kunti Devidas. Next, we will have a talk by Her Grace Brajalila Devidasi, who will be speaking about compassion, the ornament of a Vaishnava. And after that, we will have His Grace Bhutta Bhavana Prabhu, who will be talking about overcoming stress and anxiety in the current world situation. And then following, we will have beautiful offerings by devotees, disciples, and well-wishers. And we will then end with a drama by the Mauritius Yatra. And just reminding you that in between these sections, we will have interactive quizzes and also some nice videos for the pleasure of all. Okay, thank you so much. So now we will jump straight to our first section of the event. And we are all very eager for this part. I believe we've been waiting anxiously to have these wonderful personalities here. We will have an interview with two friends of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami from his early life. And so we are very fortunate to have here Her Grace Mother Upanishad Devidasi and Mr. McRae, who will be interviewed by His Grace Madhavacharya Prabhu and Her Grace Mother Kunti Prabhu, who will introduce these wonderful devotees. And I will just kindly allow me to introduce the interviewers first, if that's okay. His Grace Madhavacharya Prabhu and Her Grace Mother Kunti are senior disciples of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, having met him in the 80s. And His Grace Madhavacharya Prabhu is a senior medical doctor by profession. And together with his wife, Mother Kunti, together they opened their home to establish His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami's IFAS, the Institute for Applied Spiritual Technologies. And as Bhakti Tirtha Swami would say that his mother's house was never locked and always open to receive anyone in need. In the same spirit, they have opened their home over the past decades to accommodate and serve and have built a wonderful, beautiful whole community around them, in spite of having a big family and many responsibilities. But they're an example of care, love, and devotion, and have given everything in the service of their spiritual master. So I would now kindly like to invite Ishani for our garland ceremony. So we would like to offer all of you virtual garlands, and we would like to call now Ishani Mataji, Her Grace Ishani Mataji from Mumbai, to offer the Matajis first their garlands. Ishani Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna, Mother Upanishad, please accept this Maha garland of Subhadra.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mother Kunti, please accept this Maha garland of Brajalakshmi.
And now we would like to call His Grace Vasudeva Kripa Prabhu to offer the garlands to Mr. McRae and His Grace Madhavacharya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mr. McRae. Please accept this Maha garland of Jagannath from Jagannath Bhavan.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Madhavacharya Prabhu. Please accept this Maha garland of Baldev from Jagannath Bhavan.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
So now we would kindly like to invite His Grace Madhavacharya Prabhu and Her Grace Mother Kunti to kindly carry on with the interview. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please accept our humble obeisances.
All glory to God, all glory to Shtafa, all glory to God, Maharaj.
Thank you so much for your very gracious, generous introduction. We are very happy to be here in the association of so many wonderful Vaishnavas. We're going to start today because we don't have a lot of time and we want to hear from our guests as much as possible. So we'll get right to the interview. Our first interview is with Mother Upanishad. Many of you know her already. She is well known throughout the community of devotees, particularly those of disciples of Bhakti Tirtha Swami and the grand disciples, because she is known for her tremendous enthusiasm, her cheerfulness, her beautiful singing. She's effervescent, and most of all, she's a steadfast and strong devotee. Very, very much exemplifies very strong devotion. She's known Bhakti Tirtha Swami longer than anyone among us because they were friends as in high school. They've traveled this path of bhakti together for over 50 years. So it's an honor to have her here today. It's an honor to ask her a few questions so she can share her wisdom and realizations with us. Mother Isha Upanishad, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hari Bo.
Mother Upanishad. Mother Upanishad is a very exalted personality.
Whoa.
She has such a special role in our devotional community. She has a very exceptional actually role. She had known Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, and in his youth, which is a very rare role. So we honor her, and we want to hear so much nectar that she has. We want to share with her. So we have a few questions for you, Mother. I know you don't shy away from questions. First of all, how did you first meet Srila Gurudev, Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj? Can you share with us?
Jai Prabhu, I want to make my offering to my Guru Day first. Om Gana Timirandasya Janasya Gaya Chakshur Milatanyena Tasma Shiravi Namaste. Namaste. Namaha.
Okay.
I wanted to, I'm excited already. I've been on the phone this morning with Mother 𝐾𝐚𝐤𝐬 because I'm just ecstatic about this whole celebration. I met Maharaj for the first time in school at East Technical High School. East Technical High School is in a lower suburban area of Cleveland. What I mean by lower, it was known as being a part of the ghetto. But there were some very famous personalities that attended the East Technical High School. Besides our guru himself, we had Jesse Owens and Harrison Dillard. And that made the school stand out. So everyone wanted to attend East Technical High School. And the reason why we were in attendance was because we lived in the zone, in the area. So we had no choice. But we have other personalities like Ron Phillips Bey and Eugene Barker Bey, and some of the personalities that were inspired by Bhakti Tirtha Swami they had the attendance and were sharing a lot of his pastimes with him when we were in school. To give you a little bit of background about East Technical High School, we were not very well off. We were poor, but we were happy. Our parents were very loving, and they instilled quite a bit of discipline in us. When we attended school, the environment of East Technical High School was really sort of unique because even though we were poor and not very well off, everyone was into how they looked and how their appearance and how we dressed. The school is also famous for their athletic ability. We had the famous basketball team, track, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Maharaj might have participated in a little wrestling at the time. Can you see Maharaj wrestling? Anyway, my husband Ron and Guru, they had the same homeroom. And Lester Sandifer and myself, our homerooms were in the basement, by the way. And they would get together, and another man by the name of Raymond Otter, they would get together and they would talk about philosophical subject matter, Aristotle, people that were not a part of our environment at all. And when we would get together, or when they would get together, it was usually at lunchtime. We would, all get together, and we had different festivities to do at lunchtime. We would go to recreation where you can go and dance, or you can go and view a movie. And of course, Guru would go to the movies and I would go to the recreation of dance. And we would all end up meeting after 15 minutes of that in the cafeteria. And that's where we all would share our, festivities of the day, what we'd be doing. And I want to bring something out that was really important about that particular school. Even though we were not very well off, everyone loved to look good. We dressed so nicely. The apparel aware would be something like this. If you can't afford to buy lunch, but you can afford to wear cashmere sweaters, okay? Alligator shoes to school, they were wearing things like camel hair coats, alpaca knits. This was how we dressed when we came to school. And even though we would borrow lunch money, 3 cents from our, from our students that attended there, we would come to school looking that way. Some of the students were so sharp that they would be sent home because they were distracting towards, our education. We would be looking at them, and that was our environment. I want to make a comment about one teacher though. His name was Mr. Orr. He was a very unique, tough. That's another thing about the environment that we lived in. It was very, it was rough. You actually had to be tough to live in the projects. That was the neighborhood that surrounded East Technical High School. So Maharaj has this wonderful, I'm going to jump here because I want to mention this. Some of his disciples had asked him that they don't understand, what they're talking about when it comes to being in an environment of people that are rough, not so nice, crooks, thieves. And Maharaj had brought to their attention that no, he does understand it because that's where he grew up. He was surrounded by that. That was the energy that surrounded us when we went to school. And we were able to develop really nicely in that environment because we were very loving. Everyone had that loving exchange going on when we were very young. And I wanted to say that because East Technical High School is renowned for the athletes, but they are also known for the exchanges, the athletics and the personalities that attended that as well. I want to mention, I'm going all over the place now, forgive me. I'm a little nervous, I'm a little excited. I want to 𝐃𝐚𝐦𝐿. That was Guru's girlfriend. I can't go on without mentioning her. She was a little short, petite woman. Maharaj was about 5'11", something like that. 𝐃𝐚𝐿 was about 4'9". She was a little petite, but she was a cheerleader, powerful. We had a wonderful, we all supported the athletes at the school. So everyone would participate in the games and the field and track. And Maharaj dated 𝐃𝐚𝐿. And really, to be honest with you guys, I really never got a chance to really interact with Maharaj while we were in school. Mm-hmm. He was always around, the only time I think we might have even graced one another was when I was over at Mrs. Sledge's house, Carmen's mom, because everyone would gather at their home. And my Guru might have been coming in as I was coming in and he would be leaving. And that was mostly our encounter during high school. And
I'm so sorry, but in the interest of time, we wanted to ask you another question before your time expired.
Okay.
Can we do that? I apologize. We'll have to have you back, and we want to hear more.
Okay.
But there's
Alrighty,
one
go
of the
ahead.
questions we really want to hear you talk about.
Actually, we want to save all those stories for a book that's coming up.
Well,
from
that's
right?
going to be in the book. I got carried away. I'm sorry, everybody.
No, that's okay. We want to know how you began your spiritual journey. How did you come to Krishna consciousness?
And what role Maharaj played in that?
Well, that started with Norman Anderson. Norman Anderson, he came to the Moorish Institute one day, and he caused quite a bit of havoc when we were at the Institute, because he was speaking about this blue god. And we were all in disbelief, and we were wondering where he came from. Where is this guy from? You know, he looked strange. He was a short stature personality, built very well, but he was talking about the Supreme Personality Godhead, Krishna. And we had never heard of Krishna. We were familiar with Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, but never Krishna. So after that disturbance at the Moorish Sovereign Institute, Maharaj and myself and Ron and another guy by the name of Eugene Barker, we saw him one day walking down the street, on the street that we lived. And he invited us to his house. And to make a long story short, when we arrived at his house, matter of fact, I couldn't even go the first time because we didn't trust him. We didn't know what he was about. And when we arrived at his house, or when they arrived at his house, they shared some wonderful stories about what Maharaj Ananda was talking about. And that was that he had pictures of the universal form, the Bhagavad Gita, and that's what he talked about. He talked about Srila Prabhupada. And these were all topics, matters that we had never, you know, discussed or heard of before. So when they came back from that discussion with Nanda Maharaj, they were all in dismay. They were just blown away, totally out of it. And Guru didn't go that day. We went the next day. When they arrived, they were so blown out of it, they were really speechless. And so me and Guru decided that we would go the next day. Guru came over and he says, let's go and see Norman Anderson. I said, sure. I said, but I can't go because my husband said, you know, he doesn't want me to go because he's strange and they don't know anything about him. And he said, well, let's call Ron and you can go with me. So I was pregnant, by the way, and this was 50 years ago. And me and Guru went. We went there, we walked in, and when we walked in that door, it like hit us. Norman had these beautiful pictures of Krishna. He had a beautiful picture of the universal form, and our mouths were open. You know what I mean? We were like stunned. We couldn't believe, you know, we had walked into a whole new different environment, a whole new different world. So he had us sit down, and we, I was out of it. I was gone, you know, I was viewing, I can remember myself looking at the universal form. I don't even remember when we left, that's how engaged I was with the environment. Maharaj, of course, he has this very wonderful history of interviewing people. I could hear him asking Norman all kinds of questions about, you know, where he was from and who are these, you know, personalities. Although we were kind of aware of certain things, certain of the, you know, pictures, the Bhagavad Gita, we have seen that before, but never the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And that made a profound effect on us. And that was the beginning right there of our Krishna consciousness. That was the moment our life began. Norman Anderson, he threw it all at us at one time, you know, and when we left his house, I was a different person. I couldn't even believe I was already into, you know, higher sciences, metaphysics, you know, so what he was speaking about and what he was talking about, I was already, you know, it was just so amazing. It was just out of this world, and it was. And I couldn't believe that we were back in the material world when we left, you know, his house, because I was just so, I was walking on a cloud, you know. I just couldn't, me and Maharaj, we were looking at each other, you know, we were like, you know, we were stunned and we were happy at the same time because we had the Universal Research Institute for Seekers of Illumination. We would go around to these New Age clubs and, you know, meetings, and we never ran across anything that just took us back. We just like, it was amazing.
That is really amazing. You and Maharaj were introduced to Krishna consciousness, to Srila Prabhupada, to Krishna at the same day, the same time. He invited you, you went together, and you were introduced to that spiritual path at that time. That is an amazing path.
It's amazing. And to this day, I still remember my mood, my feeling. I was pregnant too. And when you're pregnant, you're carrying two. I was weightless. You know what I mean? I don't even remember walking home. I just remember that me and Maharaja were just talking about what we had saw and what we had, what Norman. I didn't even get to hear what Norman was talking about because I was so involved and engaged in looking at all the pictures that we were, I was surrounded by Krishna. I was like, wow, who is this blue God,
Was Maharaj in Princeton at that time?
Maharaj was just getting ready to go to Princeton. That was his first year, I'm thinking, that he started. It was that summer that we met, actually had that introduction was in the summer. And he was getting ready to go his first year at Princeton. And that was in 71, 72. It's 1972 because my son was born in 72. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're going to transition now, but that was just an amazing, wonderful story, really inspiring. Thank you so much.
So much more to say.
Yeah, we'll have to.
So full, you guys gonna cut me off? No, I'm kidding.
We're going to buy the book.
We'll buy the book.
I am writing a book. It should be all in there, all the details, all the good stuff. Thank you so very much. Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
So we're going to pick up where Mother Isha Upanishad left off, and that's with Mr. Melvin McRae. So they were introduced to Krishna consciousness the summer before Bhakti Tirtha Swami went to Princeton. While he was at Princeton, this is where he met Mr. McRae. Mr. McRae is, of course, a Princeton graduate. I'm going to give a very brief introduction because I can introduce him for an hour and a half. He's so accomplished. However, he's a graduate of Princeton. I believe in political science was his degree, but he soon, after his graduation from Princeton, he took a job as a reporter for very prestigious national magazines, Time Magazine, Life Magazine, Money Magazine. And then he had a job working for the ABC Evening News, also a very important job. He served as a video editor for the ABC Evening News broadcast. And in his spare time, while doing that, he opened his own production company called Media Genesis Solutions, which produced documentaries, one of which won the prestigious American Film Institute Award. He also taught at Princeton and Columbia University and formed his own nonprofit digital media training company. That company worked with high school students in Harlem and also produced two award-winning films, which won the White House Student Film Festival. And he was invited to the White House on these occasions, was awarded this honor by President Obama at the time. This happened twice, and spent the weekend in being hosted by Obama at the White House. Amidst all of these wonderful contributions, it was Mr. McRae who wrote the famous article that most of us are familiar with, The Two Lives of John Favors, which was published originally at Princeton and then reprinted and published in other publications, among which are Back to Godhead. So it's an honor to have Mr. McRae here today. Thank you for being here, Mr. McRae. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's an honor to be here, and it's I'm really happy to talk about John Favors, Bhakti Tirtha Swami. I distinctly remember seeing him for the first time in the fall of 1970. I was a freshman at Princeton, and we were called to a meeting of the Black Students Union. It was called the Association of Black Collegians. And it was a room with about 40 or 50 students. And this was a little unusual because Princeton didn't really have that many Black students. over its 240 some years existence. And this was something new that they were, with the civil rights movement, President 𝐤𝐬𝐬 had decided that it was time to admit black students in large numbers. And so at this meeting, it was an introductory meeting, and John Favors was up in front of the room. He was the president of the organization, and he was very fiery. He spoke with conviction and force. He was in full regalia. That is, he had a African hat. He had a dashiki. He had an African walking stick. And he spoke with the dynamism of a Malcolm X. You know, it was a lot of, emphasis on what he was saying, and I was totally captivated. I said, "Wow, this is something." It's interesting, when you're in college, you're in this period where you're away from home, usually for the first time, and you're sort of searching for yourself. Who are you? What do you believe in? And you don't really know what goes on in people's interior life. And I could say that's very true of John Favors. His exterior was, like I said, very fiery, forceful. He pretty much explained what we should be about on this campus at Princeton in 1970. It was the midst of the Black Power movement, and black students were asserting themselves for the first time at the university. It's really the first time that we were there in large numbers, and he was very forceful and dynamic. Little did I know that internally he was experimenting with various organizations, and he was going off and meeting with various groups, the Black Panthers, the ISKCON, and he was experimenting with meditation. I did not have any of these personal conversations with him at the time. It was later, after we graduated, that I realized that there were two lives of John Favors. And I say two lives, but I'm sure there were probably 4 or 5, if not more. But I found out later that he was going through a, soul searching, and he was really looking to try to make the world a better place. And I think that was the underpinning. And he didn't know whether or not a radical political action would be the way to go, or if it would be through some spiritual means. And I think he was grappling with that. And eventually he chose ISKCON. And so we graduated. Didn't hear any more about him. I lived on West 50th Street in Manhattan, and I began to frequent Govinda's restaurant at the ashram on 54th Street in New York. I'm sure many of you remember Govinda's restaurant. The food was superb. I was dating my wife at the time, and I remember taking her there several times, and she recalls the wonderful food, the prasadam that was being served there. So I got in a conversation. I think the gentleman was named Annie Ruda, and he mentioned that, I mentioned that I had gone to Princeton, and he said, well, there was a great devotee who went to Princeton. His name was John Favors. And I said, oh, I know John Favors. So I wanted to be in touch with him because I couldn't figure out how he, I saw him as the radical, fiery political activist. I couldn't figure out how he had made the transition to the Hare Krishna movement. And I was interested in journalism. At the time, I was working at Time Incorporated as a reporter, and I knew this was a great story. And so I got in touch with him, and I was able to interview him for this article in the Princeton Alumni Weekly, The Two Lives of John Favors. So our lives intersected over the years. I kept thinking that it was very odd that we kept running into each other all over New York, at rallies. It was at the second Million Man March in front of the UN, at a gas station, just sort of seemingly random, but I realize now that nothing is random in life. And so I was able to interview him on several other occasions. One in particular we did a documentary called Looking Back, Reflections of Black Princeton Alumni. And so he came to my house here in Brooklyn, and I interviewed him for that. It was the university's 250th anniversary, and I wanted to tell the story of black students at Princeton, the black experience at Princeton. And that was 1996. And since then, I've made about 6 or 7 other films about black students at Princeton, and I've really taken on the mantle of telling that story of the black experience. And of course, John Favors was a integral part of it. He had risen to the leadership of the Black Students Union because of a turmoil on the campus surrounding the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. And a lot of, as I mentioned, the black students were asserting themselves, and he took leadership in that. So I have for you a short video of the interview that I did in 1996. And I'd love for that to be played, and then I'll come back and have some more reflections, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we're going to play that, but before we play that, we're going to conclude with that video, if it's okay.
Oh, okay.
If you would, just share with us the last time that you saw Bhakti Tirtha Swami and the circumstances.
So we had been in communication by phone, and as I mentioned, we would run into each other. I attended a lecture of his in Harlem, and we talked, and I guess I was in Orlando, and I was at the airport, and I saw a devotee, and it's not hard. It's very easy to identify devotees because they look like devotees. They're dressed in the garb, and so I said, "Hey, you belong to the Hare Krishna movement?" And he said, "Yes, I do." And I said, "Well, I know Bhakti Tirtha Swami." And he said, "Oh, he's ill. He's not well." And I said, "Oh no." So when I got back to New York, I contacted him, and he explained to me what had happened with his foot. And I had conversation with him before about this growth on his foot, because I noticed at one point I saw him, he was limping. But as many of you probably know, he had a growth on his foot, and it turned into malignant cancer. And so in talking to him, he said to me that in his travels around the world, he noticed that the suffering of humanity was not being eased, that he had hoped through his work to ease the suffering of humanity. And he noticed that this was not progressing as he wished. And so he decided to take on the suffering of humanity. And this statement just blew me away. I just could not imagine anyone willingly taking on suffering. And secondarily, how my friend, John Favors from Princeton, could make a decision as momentous and as dangerous as taking on suffering, not only for his devotees, but for humanity. And he explained to me how once he had made that decision, that he started coming down with illnesses, and that his health started to deteriorate. And it took me a while to process this, because, think about it now. This is a friend of mine, and we'd gone to school together, and we'd stayed in contact. I kept asking myself, well, who is this guy? I mean, how could he possibly take on this role? I mean, I'd heard about great swamis and highly evolved people who had that ability, But as far as I knew, he was a regular guy, you know. He didn't have any extraordinary powers that I knew about. And like I said, it took me a while to process it, and I realized that, well, look, you know, who am I to say who has powers, who doesn't have powers? I don't really have any omniscience or insight into what people can do and can't do. So I sort of let it go. And I said, listen, if that's what he wants to do and that's the decision that he made, so be it. You know, and I certainly wished him well. But as a journalist, I was very curious I wanted to ask him some more questions because this was a new concept for me. So I made a trip to Silver Spring to interview him and ask him some questions. And this was a few months before he passed. And when I arrived, he was in really great spirits. And I asked him some very probing questions on camera. And he, you know, I got to tell you that he was radiant. He was glowing. And I knew that he had malignant cancer and that he did not have long for this life. But I'm telling you, there was this glow about him. And, you know, you can't help but be enveloped by the glow. So I really felt this presence about him. And he was at total peace with his decision, at total peace with his fate. And I just came away from that meeting feeling that, well, you know, I have to be a little bit more careful about who I think has powers and who doesn't have powers, and that, you know, there are people who have things to do in life and they make decisions, and, you know, we must, you know, honor them and respect them, you know, for that. But I was very sad to hear of his passing, and but I understand that there is a huge following, and that that's why we're here today. And, you know, I often wonder, how did I get here today? But through a series of events, I guess I was supposed to be here to be able to share this with you. And so I'm happy to do my part in remembering the great John Favors Bhakti Tirtha Swami.
That was quite moving and profound. We're so grateful that you could be here to share that pastime with us. In addition, perhaps one day we could all see the video, this last interview that you did, the video that you made with Bhakti Tirtha Swami a few months before he left. That would be fantastic if perhaps we could all do that together.
I'd love to share that with you.
Yeah, we will make arrangements. Thank you so much. We want to thank you, and we're going to close with showing the video that you did, the interview that you did in 1996 with Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Before we show that, I want to reiterate again, we're so grateful to have you here. To you and Mother Isha Upanishad for sharing your personal pastimes, your personal experiences with Bhakti Tirtha Swami. We're all enriched by having been here and heard your stories. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
So to the facilitators, can we show the video now? Would that be?
Just to have knowledge, just to have wealth, just to have prestige, so what?
And you learned that at Princeton?
I learned that at Princeton. My life was always quite mystical. As a very young child, at 9, 10 years old, I was a child evangelist. I had been a part of certain spiritual circles where we would perform different types of miracles through meditation and through prayer. And so these things stayed always in the background of my consciousness. I tried to forget, often I tried to put that behind me and to get more involved directly in, more kind of mundane or heavier materialistic schemes of things. But constantly, these things would come back to me and remind me that there's so much more to life. would remind me that there is so many things that we don't see that are so much a part, of the given reality. Sometimes people would come into my life. So at one point, I think maybe my first year at Princeton, I met a particular guru as I was visiting gurus and whatnot. I met this one particular guru who taught me a lot of things. But this teacher would always tell me that he was not my guru. He taught me a lot of the mystic things now that I have in my background for about 3 years. He, in a very profound and kind of mystical way, asked me if I really wanted to know who my guru was. And the term we use is because this particular teacher has said that he was what's called a Jagat Guru. That's a special Sanskrit category, meaning that it's like a spiritual master of the universe. There are different types of spiritual teachers who have different commissions. So anyway, what happened then is that we kept on talking, and he requested 3 times. The third time he says, do you really want to know? And by this time I was a little timid, but I said yes. And so he said, the spiritual master of the Hare Krishna movement. That was my very first time that I had any serious contact with the Hare Krishna movement. I had saw them twice. I saw them once at Harvard Square. We were going to a game, and I just saw these people, jumping up and down in the snow. And I thought, this is a bunch of hippies who really had, something for the head, because it was cold. I mean, it was below zero, and they were jumping up in the snow. And I saw a few of them I think in Columbus. And so when this particular guru told me that the spiritual master of the Hare Krishna movement is a very, very special entity. He's like a spiritual master of spiritual masters. He has a certain type of commission, for the whole universe. And I was devastated. I said, you mean those people who wear tennis shoes and jump around in bed sheets and have white war paint on their face, those white hippies to some kind of trip, those people have some high knowledge? He says, yes. It was a challenge to me, because he had taught me for 3.5 years. And this guy, he read your minds, he performed all kinds of miracles. He had never lied to me, had never cheated me, had proven time and time again about his potency and his realizations. And when he told me this, I could do nothing but investigate it. So I was at Princeton then, and I started coming to New York, sometimes on the weekends. I would go to the temple, I think it was Brooklyn, no, maybe Manhattan. I would go there, and sometimes I would stay over on weekends. But literally I would go to get some books, listen to the lectures, just to find fault. Because I didn't want to buy into that stuff. I could understand that what I was doing previously was a little meditation, once or twice, once or twice a week. And that these people had committed themselves full-time to something that just didn't look right to me, It was so foreign, anything that I had been about. And because in those days it was just mostly white bodies also, I wasn't comfortable at all. But the more I read the materials, the more I visited the centers, the more I challenged the philosophy. Because I had all these experiences, a lot of stuff that wasn't integrated but was here and here and there. When I started putting it together and examining the philosophy, I was shocked. My nature is that when I felt strong about something, I wasn't intimidated to dive into it. But this was a big challenge.
Fantastic.
Thank you all again.
Thank you so much.
Glad to share that with you.
Yes, sir. We'll be in touch for the future, for future conversations. Thank you.
Look forward to it. Peace and blessings.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, thank you, thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Mr. McRae, for that wonderful video. It was indeed amazing. And thank you to Mother Upanishad. Thank you, Mr. McRae, also for your words and for sharing wonderful pastimes with us. Mother Upanishad, for your enthusiasm, for being here and for accepting our invitation. And Madhavacharya Prabhu and Mother Kunti, thank you for lovingly and so nicely conducting this interview. We are truly grateful to all of you. Thank you so much for being here and allowing us through your words to connect even more with our Param Guru. Thank you so much. And we hope we're seeking your association even more in the future. Hare Krishna to all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So now we will move on to the next part of our session. And we have here a wonderful, very, very special devotee. And we're always so happy when she joins our events because her talks are amazing, they're interactive, and they truly touch our hearts. And she is none other than her Grace, Vraja Leela Mataji, who is with us from the US. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for being here today with us. We are truly honored with your presence here. I will just quickly introduce Her Grace Vraja Leela Mataji. Vraja Leela Mataji is a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, and she personally cared for her beloved spiritual master during his last days here. She joined ISKCON in New York in 1979. Since the beginning, she always found herself having to nurture and care for new people and create new communities. She pioneered ISKCON temples throughout West Africa. She assisted with the development of the Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology, founded by His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, assisted with the development of the GBC Devotee Care Committee in Mayapur as well. She is the co-author of the Devotee Care Course Manual and also assisted in the creation of Gita Nagari in Pennsylvania, the farm community, where she and her husband, Prabhu 𝐒𝐰𝐬𝐬 Prabhu, currently reside. She is a certified trainer in conflict resolution, mediation, emotionally focused couple therapy, and nonviolent communication. She travels worldwide and offers online webinars on essential technologies for managing conflicts, both in secular and in devotee communities as well. And she also regularly teaches and gives wonderful online talks. Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. And I would now like to offer you our virtual garland, and we would like to call Induleka, Her Grace Induleka Mataji from Brazil, from São Paulo, Brazil, to offer you the garland.
Hare Krishna Vraja Leela Mataji, please accept my most humble obeisances unto your lotus feet.
Beautiful garland. I'm smelling the flowers. Thank you so much, Induleka. Thank you, Yogi. Thank you both so very much. So very grateful to be here. As you see, our camera has been in and out because there's so much light in the room and we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we get out of the light? However, here we are, we can't avoid the light somehow. It's a part of this program, the light, which is coming from Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj and Lord Krishna. So I'll say a prayer and then we'll move right into the program. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pastityadi Shikarane. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Tinamane. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shritatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vachakalpa Turubhyascha, Vipasandubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Jai. So firstly, we want to thank His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Damodara Maharaj, who is such a beautiful example of his spiritual master. One of the gifts that His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj has given to us is the gift of inclusion. And we can see from the disciples of Bhakti Dhira Damodara Maharaj how much Bhakti Damodara Maharaj has imbibed that gift because his disciples had spent 3 days engaging so many other wonderful personalities in the service of their Param Guru and their Guru. So we're grateful to all of you. We thank you so very much. This is one of the amazing gifts that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj has given to us, inclusion. Please let us not forget that. Thank you, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisance. All glories and glories to Srila Prabhupada. Another, Hare Krishna. Another point I'd like to make is when I say my pranams, I say the pranam of Srila Prabhupada first, and then I say Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj second. And that's because that's what Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj instructed me to do. He instructed, I believe, a few of us to do that we should say the pranam of Srila Prabhupada first. The devotees that say Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj pranams first, it's fine, it's not a problem. This is our guru, we say his pranam first. However, that was a personal instruction, and so I follow that instruction. Just wanted to bring that into our assembly. So Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, wow, well, there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that says, what a great man does, common men follow. And so we see that we've heard over the last 3 days from so many exalted speakers of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's mood of following his spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada, as we know, also followed in the mood of his spiritual master. This is the line of disciplic succession. This mood of following the spiritual masters is passed down. And so Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj always had that mood of following his Guru Maharaj. And as so many beautiful devotees have shared, Ishipanishad, thank you so much for your pre-pastimes. Thank you. We can understand that the key to our spiritual success is to be in the mood of the spiritual master. So Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's mood as a great person is the same mood as Srila Prabhupada as a great person, which is param dukkha dukhi, which is to be caring for all people, right? All people all over the world, to have this kind of compassion, to be able to reach out, to be able to encourage people, to be able to include people. This is the mood of compassion that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj has, that he demonstrated all over the world. And so before we get into speaking more and sharing our program that we've put together for your pleasure, I'd like to share one of the most important ornaments of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj in terms of compassion is the holy names of the Lord, the holy names of the Lord. He left his body teaching us so many stories by his example about why we need to take shelter of the holy names of the Lord. So we'll start our program with the holy names of the Lord. And again, please forgive our lighting. It's just what it is. So Ekavira Prabhu will chant for us for a few minutes.
Shrimate Bhakti Tirtha Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Gaura Charani Nirvishesha Shunyaka Astagfirullah Kavali
Krishna Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Tirtha Swami Namaste Krishna Prabhupada Tatmane Shri Gaura Bhakti Tirtha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nanda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasa Gauranga Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nanda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasa Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Gurudev
Hari Hari. Thank you, 𝐤𝐬𝐬 Prabhu. Thank you so much. So there's a prayer that I would like us to focus on a little bit. And it's a prayer that we all know so very well. This is a prayer that is important to every devotee and especially important to the spiritual master. Panchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. And this prayer says, we offer obeisance to the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are full of compassion for the fallen, conditioned souls. It is a very important quality of a Vaishnava to be compassionate with others. And one of the symptoms of this compassion is that a devotee cannot tolerate seeing others suffer. This was the mood of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj Gurudev. He could not tolerate seeing others suffer. So he gave his life, as Melvin McRae shared so brilliantly in his video. He gave his life so that we could be present to understanding the sufferings of others. How do we do this? So this is the mercy of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. When we speak about ornaments, the ornament of the Vaishnava is what is passed down. What is the legacy? What have they contributed to the world? And so we took our time because, as I said, one of the principles I learned from Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj at Gurudev is the principle of inclusion. So we took this time that was given to me to show you, to show all of you, to share with you the compassion of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj and how he extended himself, made himself available in all kinds of situations, all kinds. So we will invite different people, different ornaments of his compassion to share what compassion has meant for them in their association with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. So at this time, Yashoda-mayi, I hope you're set up and ready to go. So we're going to move our cameras over to Yashoda-mayi. Yashoda is, she's setting up and here she is. Yashoda is one of the first disciples of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj in the initiations in 1986. She's among those that were first initiated. She, like Kartamisha, is usually in the background. Although now she's coming out and we're so very grateful and so happy that she's making her presence. Her presence has always been known. However, she's been in the background doing many, 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 many amazing services for Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, like Harinam Press. Yashoda was behind the Harinam Press. She's a book person. So Yashoda-mayi, we welcome you and we invite you to share with the devotees. And we have quite a few. I have taken my time to bring devotees to show this is what we do. This is what we do. We glorify each other because that was Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's compassion. Yes, Yashoda.
Thank you, Prabhu. Nama Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaleshmata Bhakti Tirtha Swami Tanamine.
Namaste, Krishna Prabhupada, Arastatmane, Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namane. Nama Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Vishtaya, Bhutaresh Mata Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste, Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasharni, Niva Shesha Shundavadi Prashta Tishatarani. Thank you, Mother Vrajilila, always the shining example of how we are to be in following Gurudev's footsteps. And I also want to thank His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Damodara Maharaj for just such an inspiring program and all the people that it took to organize this. Thank you so much. I don't want to take up too much time, but when you were talking about the light, Mother Vrajilila, I remembered this book that our dear godbrother Utpala Prabhu has. This is available on Amazon. We've made this book available through Amazon. So anyone that would like to read about Gurudev's pastimes in Africa, this book is available, The Light. So you reminded me of that when you were talking about how the light is, you can't fight the light, it's coming out. So there's Gurudev. And talking about books, I wanted to share a small PowerPoint with you about a project that myself and 𝐤𝐢𝐳 have been working on. Chandramali Maharaj and Radhnath Maharaj were talking about Gurudev's pastimes in behind the Iron Curtain. And over again, we've heard about these beautiful letters that were written to Srila Prabhupada, and that Srila Prabhupada wrote back to Gurudev, exalting his activities and his dedication to Srila Prabhupada and getting Srila Prabhupada's books out, especially in a situation and a condition that was very, very, very difficult. And so many, many years ago, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj gave me his collection of these letters from Srila Prabhupada, not to keep, although I did make copies of them for myself. And I've been sitting on this treasure for so many years. And it occurred to me that this needed to be shared, that Gurudev would want us to share it. So we have compiled this book called Between Father and Son, which is a collected correspondence between His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. And I wanted to just read a little bit from one of the letters in here. Some of the letters in here are from Srila Gurudev to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, never been printed before. And I wanted to just read a section from one of the letters to Srila Prabhupada by Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Nama Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Vishtaya Bhutilesh Mata Bhakti Tirtha, Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasharni Niva Shesha Shundavadi Prashna Teshatarani. Dear Srila Prabhupada, our repeated obeisances are paid unto you. You are engaging us in the mission of Lord Chaitanya and are therefore freeing us from the mire of material existence. Srila Prabhupada, we bathe your lotus feet with our tears of gratitude, and we anoint our bowed heads with the dust of your lotus feet. I'm just going to read a small section from one of his distributions. The first school was Yale University, which was visited last year by a senior member of the Library Party, Mahabodhi Das. You allowed him to sell at that time 2 standing orders to the main library. My party went there again 3 weeks ago and made arrangements there for us. And you made arrangements there for us so that we sold 6 more standing orders and large quantities of your books to important scholars. One outstanding order was sold to a well-renowned psychologist who was interested in finding out about man's true nature. 2 standing orders were sold to the anthropology department, anthropology library, so anyone studying the society and culture of India will have your books to appreciate the actual Vedic way and the Siddhanta. 1 standing order was sold to the Yale Divinity School Library. 2 standing orders were sold to a professor in the religion department who was a specialist on Asian religions. This professor was the biggest contact at the school. She will study books for her own edification and will use them to help her in her courses. 1 theologian and scholar who was a leading authority on religious education for children took several books and wants to review them in a journal, which he is the editor of. Several other professors bought books and they will write reviews for us, which we'll send to you for the book you are compiling. So you, Srila Prabhupada, furnished Yale University with 8 standing orders, and sold several other books to professors for self-study and for course use. And the letter goes on, but this is Srila Prabhupada's response. My dear Ganesham Das, please accept my blessings. I am in due receipt of your letter dated October 5th, 1975. I was very glad to read the contents. You mentioned about the well-renowned psychologist at Harvard who was interested in finding out man's true nature. Man's true nature is to render service. Originally, the living entity was meant for rendering service to Krishna, and as soon as the living entity misuses this marginal position, he becomes conditioned by material nature. You are rendering first quality service to Krishna by your preaching success. Be blessed and continue your efforts, and Krishna will recognize you very quickly. Anyone who preaches like this is very much appreciated by Krishna. I hope this meets you in good health. Your ever well wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So this book is available. This is the library party that was under the control of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. This was, I'm not sure when this was taken, but I interviewed Satsvarup Maharaj for this book. And these are some of the chapters in the book. And so it's available on Amazon. It's also, it takes about a month to get here. So anyone that wants copies for Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's Tithi date, which is March the 10th, I'm hoping that I ordered copies ahead of time. So hopefully they will be with me. So you can contact me for more, to get a copy for yourself. And I'm just asking for all the devotees, prayers and blessings to continue making other offerings to Gurudev in this way. Thank you all very much.
Hare Krishna, Haribol. Thank you so much, Yashoda-mai. So again, in this mood of sharing the compassion of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. So Yashoda read some excerpts of some of the work that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj did, trying to, in his efforts to give compassion to the living entities, Param Dukkha Dukhi, seeing the miseries and making himself available. So the next video we will see, it's a little short clip. We're asking everyone to keep everything that that we invited everyone to participate to 5 minutes. So this clip is a little less than 5 minutes. And so the wonderful team of devotees that organized this program will be showing this clip right now. Hope you got it, and I hope it's all gonna work. Technology doesn't always work.
Please accept our humble obeisances at the dust of your lotus feet. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please kindly accept our heartfelt homage from everyone at the Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology. We conduct public lectures, seminars, retreats, festivals, marathons, workshops, pilgrimages. We do online preaching, live broadcasts, regular posts, video quotes. We carry out online marathons, and we make movies. We also develop projects and programs that are based in many cities like Almaty, Moscow, Minsk. In Minsk yearly, we organize the International Children Film Festival, Kino Svet, the light of the movies. In Almaty, we have our school and play school. We continue to develop them. Here, we strictly follow the principles of pure living. Last year, we won 3 awards in 3 nominations at the Festival for the Good of the World in Moscow. In December in America, we organized a festival, Gita Fest, in honor of 50-year anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's arrival in Moscow. In 2021, the following service was carried out as a humble offering to our spiritual master and the entire Guru Parampara. 4,165 students from 49 countries enrolled in our projects. There were 6,751 participants in our marathons. 759 people participated in our social events. 1,884 people attended our festivals. We have 131,580 subscribers and followers of our social media. 206,580 subscribers in social networks of Marina Tergakova. The Institute's team is 186 devotees from 21 countries. 10,500 books of Srila Prabhupada were distributed. 1,572 books of other authors were distributed. 1,636 portions of prasadam were distributed. All the devotees that are engaged in service in IFAST are daily studying Bhagavatam in our Srimad Bhagavatam school, which was launched in 2017. This was a very important step for us, and we are very happy to deepen our relationships in Krishna consciousness. By regular attendance in classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2-18. Dear Maharaj, in IFAST, we are sincerely trying to imbibe the spirit of your preaching by following your example, spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so very much. So this is the compassion of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. One woman, one lady, one Vaishnavi. She read Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's book. She had never met him, and she started the Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology. This is the legacy that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj left us, to carry on this mood of param dukkha dukhi, caring for the miseries of people in the world. And we see in Russia, they remembered what he gave many, many years before when he was serving Srila Prabhupada. So in this mood, we want to extend a kind invitation to Madhavacharya and Kunti, who are caregivers for the Institute in America. And we would like them to share 5 minutes on how Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj has inspired them to carry on the mood of the Institute. While they're setting up, I just want to share the name of the Mataji in Russia. Her name is Malika Mala. And we are constantly doing workshops and seminars for them in Russia. We just did one last week, and she continued to be so enthusiastic and eager to serve Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Madhava and Kunti Devi.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vatale Shrimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namani. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashitatmani Shri Guru Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namani. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vatale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharni Navashesha Shri Navani Vajjatya Deshatani. Jai. Thank you, Mother Rajalila, for this invitation. Thank you, Maharaj, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, for this amazing program for our Guru Maharaj. We appreciate you so much. So this question of compassion of our Guru Maharaj, this is what drives everyone in our community, his deep compassion for everyone, Guru Maharaj was love and action. He showed love for every person, every child, every elder, every member, devotee and non-devotee. That was his mood. Deep care for everyone, every suffering being. So we try to carry on his instructions by continuing to carry on his mood in this institute. We carry on by continuing the programs that he started many years ago. We have the preaching programs on Saturdays for the last almost 30 years, and devotees come together and
we discuss, we are educated, we fight, but we grow and we bond as a community, and the community is continuing to grow by the grace of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami.
Guru Maharaj, what pleased him most is when we cared for each other, when we cooperated with each other. And what displeased him most was when we did not care, or when we didn't show, when we didn't extend to each other. So this was his mood.
We don't want to take up too much time, but we want to thank you all for this inspiring weekend of presentations. In addition, that last video was really fantastic. It was really well done, and we noticed that some of the admissions to the video, some of the scenarios from the video were from Ukraine, and so we reminded us to send our prayers and ask for the protection of all of the Vaishnava community in the midst of the war in Ukraine right now. But thank you all for your wonderful association. It's been so inspiring.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madhava and Kunti Prabhus, for always being spontaneous and eager to serve beloved spiritual master, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. These are very senior devotees that joined the Institute in the very beginning, and they have continued the service. This is going 30 years. They've continued the service of keeping his legacy alive. Param Dukkha Dukhi. So now we are inviting another personality, this husband and wife team. I believe the husband may not be available, so we have the team. We have one of the persons from the team who will show us how Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj gave another part of his life, which, let's just see what she has prepared for us for 5 minutes. Prajata Devi from 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐷𝐺𝐸. 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐷𝐺𝐸 is a farm community in Pennsylvania. Haribol, Prajata.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mother Rajalila. Thank you, Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Swami, and the wonderful organizing team for such an exceptional, uplifting, inspiring program. It's always a blessing to be in such a wonderful and beautiful family, and to all our special guests also, like Mr. Melvin McRae and others that have joined us. It's been such a pleasure to be part of this gathering. Thank you. So Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Gurudev gave us compassion in many forms. I'm going to share with you his legacy that he left in a farm community, in a rural community. We've been focusing on young adults. We focus on everyone, but somehow young adults have gravitated to the farm. And their first impression is, 1, why is everyone so wonderful? 2, why are the cows so happy? And 3, what's that little building next to the temple? And that little building is the memorial of Gurudev, the Samadhi. And most persons spend lots of times, they consider that a very sacred space, an inner sanctum. They go in there to meditate, to sit, to share, and they form a connection with someone they've never met, but they are experiencing the legacy through the environment that has been left here by Gurudev in 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐷𝐺𝐸. Through the expansion of the cows and the efforts in that way, I want to share with you a very short video made by one of the groups that came from Keene State University. We have numerous groups coming to the farm, and after each of them visit, they always send us back a video. And this is just one of them, where they will speak about their experiences. And I thought instead of me sharing, let's hear from them directly. I do introduce compassion through the efforts of the team on the cow protection side. Our food system is a broken one, and there are lots of challenges in that. And that's something that all of us deal with on a daily basis. And here, these students talk to that, and we see the integral value of land and cows in this mission that Srila Prabhupada has given us to make such a global impact. The vision for 𝐸𝐸 is to accelerate global transformation through compassionate living, and I'll share a short video on that. So I'm going to share my screen. And sorry, can you share screen? Okay. So I have it set up, but I can't see my tab because the control panel is on the top. So I just have to quickly go and bring it back again. Let's see.
Click on that and drag it down so that you can see the upper tabs.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Okay, there we go.
Parjata, we're not hearing, my love.
On top of your screen to the right, you will find something like 3 dots. You can click on that, and then you will find the option of share sound. The panel which was appearing on the top. So when you click on the right corner of it, you will find an option of share. Yes, it's audible. Yes, yes.
𝐸𝐸𝐴 Farm is a 350-acre eco farm and sanctuary purchased in the 1970s, and currently focused very much on sustainable living, sustainable practices, and primarily to be a space that invites various communities to experience life in a cow-centric community.
𝐸𝐸𝐴 is the only USDA certified slaughter-free dairy farm in all of North America. And basically what we do is try to show a model of a different way of living, a more sustainable, self-sufficient living that's based on compassion and honesty and environmental justice, and really on the best way to take care of animals in a very symbiotic way.
So 𝐸𝐸𝐴's dairy operation is very different to other operations in the United States, and I could go as far as to say the world. In the conventional dairy operation, every cow, once they're spent, that's the term they use, once they're not productive, they're slaughtered, and they either become beef or some other byproduct. And in 𝐸𝐸𝐴, however, we have a very unique model, and it's actually a very natural model, and we believe ought to be the model of dairy farming, of livestock raising. So the cows are taken care of in a way that nourishes them, in a way that nurtures them. We see ourselves as co-producers in the food production system, not that man dominates and exploits another species of life. So cows, oxen, bulls, the babies that are born, all of them serve a purpose, like each of us do in society. And so their purpose is that they're providing their generous gifts of milk. We do not deprive the calf of milk. She or he will have first choice to as much as they would like. And whatever surplus is there is then distributed within this community and to other communities.
Surya is one of our oxen that's in training, So part of the model at 𝐸𝐴 is that all of the cows and their calves, both male and female, intrinsically have value, and also practically they have value. The cows, of course, they produce very nutritious food in the form of milk, which you can make so many different things from: cheese and butter and ghee and paneer. And the oxen are trained to work in the agricultural fields. They help with plowing and pulling logs in from the forest for firewood and doing lots of different practical things. And so we as humans, we work together with the cows and with the oxen to have this full system of very holistic and self-sufficient agriculture.
I think this trip had a lot of importance, especially because it focuses on sustainability and creating a culture that will be thriving for future generations. And especially in the current state of our world, I think it's important for people to be educated on these issues and learn how to make their difference and play a role in creating a better environment. And also the importance of community and communication and collaboration, which I feel has kind of drifted for a lot of people. I think bringing that back into play would be important, and that would be another step in helping to achieve that mission of sustainability.
Everyone here is just unlike anyone I've ever met before, and I've made a lot of, I think, lifelong friends. I've gotten experiences that I never would have otherwise had. It's been a really great experience.
We've done things like landscaping, redoing a greenhouse, taking out the weeds and everything. We feed the cows, we cuddle the cows, just helping out on the farm in general, and we cook our own meals most of the time and help out in the kitchen.
Today we worked on the greenhouse a lot, probably about like 3-4 hours, but it didn't have plastic up in the morning, and now it does, so I think that's a pretty good achievement.
We learned all about forestry. We took a beautiful hike through the ridge of the farm. We learned all about compassion. Compassion was such a big, important connection point for them. Just learning how to empathize and how to really feel again was very focal for them.
The best thing about this farm is probably all of the loving animals, the kind-hearted, selfless people, and the beautiful scenery even during the winter time.
As much as it was my favorite, it was the most challenging to be self-reflective, to really understand like where I was before I came here and where I wanted to go. I actually came here with a lot of anxiety. I came here with a lot of baggage, really, and just lots of worries and doubts about myself, about my career choice, about my choice to even go to Keene State. I questioned for a long time, but I feel like a completely different person. Like this, it sounds so cliche to say this was life-changing, but it was life-changing.
This farm has brought a new inspiring matter into my life, in which I want to bring everything that I've learned from the ways that they implement compassion and sustainability back with me to Keene, and perhaps spread it to other people in the community and let them know how they can implement these small little things and to make the world a little more better.
Haribo, Pajata. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you so much. This is, again, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's compassion. There was a time when there was nothing happening in 𝐸𝐴. Most of the people that were there had left. And Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was requested to come to 𝐸𝐴, to go to 𝐸𝐴. And at that time, he was extensively traveling all over the world. He was reaching out to so many different kinds of people, and yet he stopped and gave himself to developing this project. Dhruva and Parijata are disciples of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and they're carrying on this mood of compassion. So I don't know how the time is going. Parijata, thank you so very much. We're moving on to another area of compassion that was really important to Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. That's women, children, families. And so we're inviting Jagannath Pandit and Chintamani to share how Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj has helped them in developing this mood of compassion with families. They are representatives of the Grihastha Vision team here in America. Jagannath and Chintamani, actually all over the world, not in America, all over the world.
Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Namaste. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Sritamane Shri Gaur Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste. Namaste Saraswati Deve Odavani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shini Vari Paskachara Desicharane. Vanchakalpa Chubhischa Kripasingayevicha Titanam Pavneyo Vaishnavido Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, it is so wonderful to be a part of this wonderful event, celebrating Guru Maharaj, and so much creativity and just, dynamism. Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Maharaj, we thank you and all of those who have organized this event. You really set the standard at a very high level, and I'm sure Gurudev is very pleased. Hare Krishna. So one of the ways that Guru Maharaj's Bhakti Tirtha Swami's compassion has manifested is in the Grihastha Vision team. As it's been mentioned by Chandamali Maharaj and so many others, that Gurudev's loving care was extended to women, children, families, marriages. He married he would conduct marriage ceremonies for many of his disciples and others, including ourselves. And the foundation that he established with his disciples, his communities, his projects around the world was loving relationships. And so for ISKCON to thrive, he clearly knew that the microcosm has to be strong. That microcosm is the family. Guru Maharaj, he was always in a family mood. And that is the majority. That although it's the microcosm, the majority of our movement is families. And so the motto of the Grihastha Vision team encapsulates that mood of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And that motto is healthy marriages, happy families, strong ISKCON. And so the Grihastha Vision team endeavors to give support, to strengthen, to educate and enthuse individuals, couples, families, and so on. And my wife and I, we've been involved since 2003 when Mother Krishnandini founded the Grihastha Vision team. And unfortunately, Mother Krishnandini was called back in service to Srila Prabhupada back in 2020. But she gave birth to the Grihastha Vision team. And before that, Srila Prabhupada, almost 2 decades before, Srila Prabhupada planted a seed in her heart. He appeared in a dream and instructed her to teach the devotees how to have a Krishna conscious marriage, how to have Krishna conscious marriages and families. And that burden weighed heavy on her because at the time she wasn't even married. So in time, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, once her and Mother Krishnandini and Tariq Prabhu were married, some years after that, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj strongly pushed her to manifest an organization that could fulfill that instruction that Srila Prabhupada gave her, to teach devotees how to have Krishna conscious marriages. And so eventually the Grihastha Vision team manifested. And Mother Krishnandini is and will always be the heart and the driving force behind the Grihastha Vision team. And all of the Grihastha Vision team members are very committed, including Mother Rajalila and 𝐒𝐰𝐬𝐢 Prabhu, to help devotees take full advantage of the unlimited opportunities to make spiritual advancement in the Grihastha ashram.
And I'd like to share a bit about what the Grihastha Vision team offers, the services, very briefly. I'd like to reinforce what Jagannath Pandit said about this beautiful program. We thank everyone for this opportunity. And basically, the Grihastha Vision team provides counseling and education for couples and families. We offer premarital education, which is very important for those who are trying to learn or who are interested in going into the Grihastha ashram. We provide education about the Grihastha ashram, and also couples who are considering getting married. There's guidance on how to enter marriage together. Through our workshops, courses, and articles, we offer topics. We address topics such as open and honest communication, balancing responsibilities, affection and intimacy, conflict resolution, parenting, and we offer a Trinadapi marriage model, which focuses on cultivating humility, respect, and tolerance in our marriage and our relationship to be able to minimize Vaishnav aparad and increase spiritual growth in our relationship, in our families, in our marriages. We have a website, which is VaishnavFamilyResources.org, VaishnavFamilyResources.org. We have a YouTube channel called the Grihastha Vision Team, and also a Facebook page called the Grihastha Vision Team. The group co-authored a book called Heart and Soul Connection, and we like to encourage everyone to get a copy of this book. It goes in depth on some of the topics and many other topics that I mentioned. It talks about 12 principles and values that underlie a healthy Grihastha life, and we encourage devotees to get a copy of that. We have retreats. For 8 consecutive years before the pandemic, we had a couples retreat at Gitanagari, and it was a wonderful opportunity for couples to take the time to come together and really delve into the factors that can strengthen their marriage so they can be contributing powerful factors in their families, in their communities, in ISKCON, and in the world. Since the pandemic, we've been holding online panels about every 3 months where the members of the Grihastha Vision Team offer guidance and answer questions. We have an online marriage and family course through the Bhaktivedanta College that goes on a couple times a year. And we have mentor training. So Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj emphasized community. And in order for communities to thrive, we know we have to support each other. And mentors are really critical. So those who have an interest in mentoring other couples, we have a training that can give you the confidence and the skills to be able to support other couples. And we also collaborate with ISKCON leadership to expand awareness, support, and education on Grihastha needs and Grihastha life. So in whatever ashram you're in, we request that you support this initiative that would be very pleasing to His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, to Srila Prabhupada, to be able to expand Lord Chaitanya's mission far and wide. And we feel really, really grateful to be part of this initiative, which is an initiation, and to serve closely with Her Grace Rajalila Devi Dasi, 𝐒𝐰𝐬𝐢 Prabhu, Uttama Devi Dasi, Partha Das, and many other devotees who are part of the team. Hare Krishna.
Hari Hari, thank you so very much, Jagannath and Chintamani, Param Dukkha Dukhi, feeling the miseries of the conditioned souls and making yourself available to carry out that compassion. I am being told that I'm going over time. So there was one other person, and I'll just share. I'm so sorry. The organizers have said I'm over time. The other person was going to share something on interfaith teachings, which is so important to Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj made himself available to every single spiritual community, whenever he could make himself available. He would go into different places. When I lived in Africa with him, we would go to the Baha'is, we would go to the Muslims, we would go to the Christians, we would go to everyone. And so there's a devotee in Nigeria, his name is Salika Prabhu, and he's carrying on that mood of compassion by making it available. Salika, I am being told that we don't have any more time by the organizers. So if you can just say maybe one or two things, please.
Yeah,
yes,
thank you
Prabhu.
very much, Raja Leela. Because of time, in less than 2 to 3 minutes maximum, I'll try quickly to just summarize. Thank you very much, Mother, and my obeisances to all of the devotees, my obeisances to the Paramparam. Actually, time will not allow me to go into the details of this topic of the mode of compassion of Srila Gurudev in terms of sharing and making himself available to all different kinds of community. When he left the planet, the last time he came to Nigeria was in 2003, and he came that time with a special message. Immediately from the time he arrived at the airport, he started telling all of us that each and every one of you, I'm giving kind of an empowerment for you to be able to become the best you can be in Krishna consciousness. And then he says several things, but he concluded by saying that I'll be coming back to you. Then we never had opportunity to meet him physically again. But when he left, it took me almost about 5 years to get myself together. And I was just thinking what to do. But in 2010, I met His Holiness 𝐾𝐻 Swami Maharaja, and I was crying, virtually crying. I don't know what to do with my life. I'm confused. I was expressing so many discomfort and confusion. Then in that conversation, I got a very wonderful inspiration from His Holiness 𝐾𝐻 Maharaj. And then it became the vision of what has developed today into some kind of a big activity. And then from that moment on, before that time, I've been preaching in the university, but then I never went into different communities. So from that time on, I just started having interactions with civil society organizations, government agencies, paramilitary, military, and so many other international organizations. I have a short slide here. I will just lay the slides up because
Salika, I don't think we can do that. I don't want to. Oh no, I want to be invited next year. So.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay. Then maybe I'll stop it here. When I was just thinking I was going to share that slide. It's just
well,
actually.
Let me check with Maharaj. Let me check with Maharaj. Maharaj, you're the boss. What do we do? Your devotees, your disciples are precise with time, and I honor that. I want to honor that. So please, what would you like us to do?
3 minutes.
Okay, Salika, you got to go.
Okay, I'll just show this slide. It's just a preaching activities with different communities in the last 1 month. Actually, it's so heavy that in a month, sometimes I had to go into more than 7, 8 activities at different locations. I'll just show this slide. This slide is just showing 1 month activity. In the last 1 month, between January and now, I think I'll just go to the slide and I'll just show, sorry, from the beginning. Okay. Okay, this is the slide. This particular one on the screen is a 3-day program with Global Interfaith University within the 29, where we had a capacity building program with various community. Then after that, we had we're invited as a key speaker at 2 warring communities. Who just has been in turmoil. Someone who has been following the news will know that. 2 communities, particular major communities who are actually having a lot of killings among themselves, were invited by the military, the top-ranking military, to intervene and then give some spiritual techniques for peace building. So this was this program. This is the General Commanding Officer of the Army, 3 Armored Division in Nigeria. So after the speech, we gave him Srila Prabhupada's book. He was expressing appreciation in this picture after we have spoken. These are part of his appreciation. This is Major Ishaku Sebastian. He was particularly very enthused. He's carrying Srila Prabhupada's book. He collected so many books at the time. Same personality. This is a group picture at that program at the summit. This particular one is a United Nations program, World Interfaith Harmony Week, which we were also part of involving. We were given the opportunity to give the opening prayers in Hare Krishna way. That was opening prayers. Yeah, I was speaking, answering questions. This is Arabic Bhagavad Gita, some of the new things we're doing. presenting Bhagavad Gita in Arabic because of the Fulanis and the Muslim community among in our area. So one of the major Muslim imam here, we're giving him Bhagavad Gita in Arabic. The next one is the National Youth Corps. The youth is a kind of setup of youth organized by the government. So their president here is receiving Bhagavad Gita. Here is some of us must have known King Abdulaziz International Center for Interreligious and Intercultural Peace Building. Here it was at the program we giving him Bhagavad Gita and other Srila Prabhupada's book. Here he is the associate reverend. It's an associate reverend pastor. Is the rector of College of Peace and Reconciliation. He also received Bhagavad Gita at that event. This is the president of the Peace Practitioners Association of Nigeria, a body of civil society. Their president here is receiving Bhagavad Gita and some other books. This is 𝐈SIN. 𝐈SIN is Islamic Council Initiative of Nigeria. Their country representative is here receiving Bhagavad Gita and some other books. And there is, as we said, we're interacting with different communities. This one is a youth focus program where they bring youth together using music and then football as a piece. And then we did a lot of chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra in that program. Here I was speaking, answering questions. This is the group picture at the end of the event. I think that is just a thank you very much for giving the opportunity to present these preachings. There are actually so many of them, but I just put this together based on my mother's request yesterday. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Mitsagora, Hari 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 Bol. Thank you, Salika Prabhu. Thank you so very, very much. That was excellent. Thank you, Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Maharaj, for giving us a little more time. And now we're going to close our part of this program. Thank you so much, Maharaj. There's so much going on in Nigeria and also in Ghana. That was, anyway, Hare Krishna. Next time let's show you what Ghana is doing. So thank you so much. I'm going to close with a humble offering that we're offering to our Guru Maharaj. We were fortunate, as was shared by someone, to be with him in those last days when he was leaving his body. We were very fortunate to be with him in Hawaii, where it was only myself and my husband and him. We were caring for him in those last days of cancer, and we're offering a program every Saturday evening at 6:30 in the evening, Die Before Dying. We're reading the memories of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and we're sharing those pastimes of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj that we experienced with him those last days those last days of him being on the planet. Fortunately or unfortunately, we were the only two people that were with him. So these memories are in our consciousness, and now we're bringing them out and wanting to share them with the devotees. We thank you so very much again. There's many things, other things that we're sharing, that we're doing. We have a women's program in South Africa, and I wanted to share some slides for that, but I knew we wouldn't have time. It was more important to show how the devotees are carrying on Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's compassion. And thank you, organizers, Yogini. Thank you so much for your kind patience and tolerance. We appreciate all of you. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji, so much. I'm very touched with your words, and we love you too. So thank you so much to all our grand aunties and uncles for being here with us today and giving us your blessings and sharing such wonderful, wonderful projects that you're doing throughout the world as an offering to our dear beloved Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Thank you, Mataji, and we would love to have you again and again and again with us always. Thank you. Hare Krishna. And now moving on to the second part of our session, I would now like to share this, invite my god sister from Mauritius, Her Grace, dear Naimisharanya Devidasi, who will be taking over from here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, welcome.
Hare Krishna, thank you, dear Yogini, for taking us smoothly for that first part. Hare Krishna, Shragudev, Prabhus and Matajis, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Shri Prabhupada, all glory to Shri Bhakti Tirtha Swami, and all glory to Shri Bhakti Damodara Swami. We are very happy to welcome you one more time to the second part of the last session of Leaving the Legacy with His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Right, Bhakti Tirtha Swami is someone who has touched our heart in every sense, and all we wish to offer is our deepest gratitude unto him. Right. Also, dear participant who has recently joined in, should you be encountering any kind of technical issues, do you have any query, you need any kind of assistance, please do not hesitate to contact our Ask Your Servant in our chat box. And second announcement is very soon, shortly in your chat box, you will be receiving a link for our feedback form, which is very important for us to know your opinion, your suggestion, your views, and how you have found the sessions and everything. So we humbly request you all to kindly take a minute to just click on our feedback form and to send us your valuable suggestion. Thank you. And now, dearest devotees, our next item is awaited by many of you. So we will be having our quiz of the session. And as you know, we will be having 3 questions with the 4 options, and you have to choose the correct answer. So, and also the winner of each question will be qualified to go to our final grand final in this very session itself. So get ready, get your fingers ready to click on the poll, which will appear on your screen. Like now, our question 1 is, where did His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami first see Hare Krishna devotee? A, Thompson Park at a tennis tournament, Thompson Park at a football game, C, Harvard Square at a football game, or D, Princeton University at an interreligious preaching program. And the poll will be on your screen. Just hurry up to click the right answer. Thank you. We can see something happening on the screen. And here we go. In a few seconds, we shall be getting the correct answer. And the correct answer is C, Harvard Square at a football game. Thank you. And our question 2, let's go into it. Okay, second question. On which day did His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami depart from this world? A, June 27, 2005, B, July 27, 2005, February 5, 2005, or March 5, 2005. The poll will appear. Please choose a correct answer. You have 10 seconds to do that and to be eligible to get to our grand final. Here we go. The correct answer is A, June 27, 2005. Let's get to the third and last question of the session and the event, actually. So let's get into it. Get ready, dear devotees. Get set, ready. And here we go. Among the following book, which is the book that His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami did not write a reflection on sacred teaching books on? A, Madhurya Kadambini, B, Harinam Chintamani, C, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and D, Sri Shopnishad. And the poll is on your screen now. Just click the correct answer. Thank you. And the correct answer will be displayed, which is C, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So yeah, thank you, dearest devotees, to have participated in our quiz session. So as you know, we will be getting on all the winners, the top winners of every session will be eligible to attend our grand final. And out of 50 winners, we will have 5 winners with a special prize, which we will explain at the end of the session, right? Okay. Okay, dearest devotees, our next event, our next item of this event, we will be having a very another special speaker, and who has been supporting us in all our events since we started our online program. Another disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, all the way from the UK. So we are very happy to welcome His Grace Bulbhavana Prabhu, as he himself was introducing Krishna consciousness in the mid-19 at Shishra, the London Shishra Temple, while he was still a student and studying philosophy and economics at the London School of University. He's also the pioneer in starting various activities in the UK and globally as well. And he's a main leader in establishing the UK devotee group, youth group, leading successful university program preaching Krishna consciousness. He also gives lectures at temple and speak at various prestigious universities. He established the UK's first youth mentorship system and pioneered retreat programs in Mayapur Dham. By profession, he works for a leading global company, coaching and training managers in leadership development. His area of focus include presenting the deep, basic, transformative tradition of Krishna consciousness and basically how to apply spirituality in a very practical way. We are very happy to have him with us this evening, and we would like to invite Prakash Bantu Prabhu from Mauritius to come forward for the garland ceremony. You can unmute yourself, Prakash Prabhu. Kindly unmute yourself. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances and kindly accept this Mahagalan from Prabhupada.
Thank you so much, Ram Prakash Prabhu and Bhavana Prabhu. Welcome you, and the screen and the virtual Vyasa are all yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just want to begin by saying what a pleasure it is to be with so many of my exalted God family, Maharaja Leela, 𝐒𝐰𝐬𝐢, Parijata, 𝐁𝐡𝐚𝐤𝐿, and obviously all of our God family, Jagannath Chintamani, I can see Govinda, Ekachakra Prabhu is here. And I also want to beg all of your blessings, God family, the wider God family, because we're all God family. And of course, the blessings of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Maharaj, that we can just share something brief, because I'm also conscious about time, that we can share something brief in the time we have, just on this topic of overcoming stress and anxiety. And we'll be taking some ideas from here. So this is a book by Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, Spiritual Warrior 4. I think you saw earlier that all the books were available on Amazon, and they're an incredible read. And again, I want to recognize Mother Yashoda Mai. I heard Mother Rajalila say earlier that Mother Yashoda Mai really spearheaded Harinam Press, and we're all very, very grateful for that service. So we'll try and keep it brief. I'll just share a few slides, but I'll just say this to begin, that we're in a world right now where there are so many reasons to be, to be concerned, to have worry, to have some doubts about whatever's happening in the social world. Over the last 2 years or so, we've been given very clear insight into how unstable the material energy can be. And we all know someone directly or indirectly who's been feeling the impact of these global changes. And we know that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj Gurudev, he would often speak about earth changes, he would speak about the social situation, and he would often help us to understand how to practically apply the teachings of Krishna consciousness in order to effectively navigate these situations so we can still come out the other side victorious, enthusiastic, and so that we could also continue to use strategy to see how to both accept the mercy of Krishna consciousness practically in our own life and make it as accessible and as relevant as possible in the life of others as well. So on that basis, we just wanted to share a few slides. And as I said, we'll keep it brief. What I'm going to ask you to do with these points that we'll be sharing is just to kind of introspect and to think about your own life, where we can take from these teachings of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, where we are in this area, and also where we feel we could give a bit more time and attention towards this topic of overcoming stress and anxiety. Now, the last thing I'll say also is I'm going to recommend some homework up front. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and it always stuck in my mind, he would often talk about how the best way to learn anything is to teach it. And we saw that he was such a master in this area that he would constantly share, constantly apply, constantly realize. So what I'm going to share up front is that as we go through this, feel free to make any notes. The more we interact with the material, the better. But I'm also going to request that everyone on this call some point in the next week, you share with someone else at least one thing from this presentation that you feel really resonated with you. And we're framing this because in this act of sharing, we will have more deep, powerful realization and transformation by applying this philosophy. I remember being with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. We were in Madhavacharya's house. This was soon after he'd been diagnosed with cancer. And he was talking about, and he was speaking about this with great intensity, actually, about how he was so concerned about seeing so many devotees not change. I'm sure that many of our God family can relate to that and would have heard him speak about that. He was really a devotee who was deeply concerned out of compassion to see that we transform. So for him, the teaching was not something that we read philosophically, then we put on the bookshelf, but it was something that we live, that we imbibe, and that we literally personify. So in that spirit, let's get into this. So again, we'll keep it as short as possible. So overcoming stress and anxiety. This is our first point. There are so many things that can be a cause of stress in the world today. So whether it's recession, loneliness, divorce stress, marriage issues, various types of challenges, health, etc. Even in this last 2 years, many people had to realign themselves in terms of work, income, etc. So we live in a world where change is a constant, and there are so many things that can change and do change. We also have this anxiety about the future. I mean, let's be honest. If you'd have told me 2 years ago that there will be a global pandemic, I would have told you you're drinking too much coffee or something slightly stronger. The fact that we've had this unprecedented 2 years means that, the material energy, it really is, literally very difficult to control. We cannot, we're not the masters of this material energy. And she works under the will of the Supreme Personality of God. And unfortunately, as Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj would often say, in a world that's increasingly acting against the laws of Krishna, there'll be more and more of these repercussions. It's a natural response for a world which moves away from the divine order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this particular chapter, I'm going to go back. In this particular chapter, which is the first chapter of Spiritual Warrior 4, there's a chapter on looking at anxiety. And in the chapter, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj lists 5 reasons why we worry, and we could say more broadly why we sometimes feel stress. So let's touch upon these 5. The first thing he brings up is that stress and worry is often a choice, and it's a way to avoid change. So when I was looking at this point, I was trying to reflect in my own life, how many times have I allowed myself to feel anxious or stressed as a way of not facing up to a need to adjust, a need to adapt to some situation? So I want you to think about this first one. As we go through each of these, I want you to pull a tick or just make a note of any that particularly resonate with you. Because within our theology, we understand that there are no accidents. Krishna is within your heart. And ultimately, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme. So when we hear classes, as we hear a point or an idea that particularly stands out or resonates for us, we can take it that there's a significance to that point, and it could be something that we can explore more deeply and that we can apply in our own life. So as we go through this, make a note of any of these points which you feel that's relevant to me. That particularly stands out to me. So the first one, that we feel anxiety or stress because we're avoiding change. And if that's something that stands out to you, the associated question is, what if you were advising yourself, if you could step out of your body and you were advising yourself, what advice would you give yourself in terms of this question? What is it that you're avoiding? What is it that we need to change within ourselves or our situation in order to become more Krishna conscious? The second point he brings up is he says that this sense of feeling anxiety is a poor substitute for proper loving action. So even in the scientific and psychological field, they talk about fight, flight, or freeze. So this idea that we feel anxious, therefore I just become stuck. I don't move, I don't do anything, and the situation often gets worse. So here, the second question would be, okay, if this is something that resonates with you, then what is that proper loving action that you know deep down, that super soul within your heart is telling you that you need to take in order to move forward in a situation where you may be feeling some stress or some anxiety? Okay. Third point he brings up, he says that this sense of anxiety or worry often has to do with a feeling of powerlessness. So I train leaders every day. And one of the most interesting discussions that we have with leaders is about differentiating the circle of concern with the circle of influence. So I may be concerned with millions of things. There may be so many things which are a concern. But the most powerful thing I can do is focus on where and what do I have power to change. So in order to overcome a feeling of powerlessness, the question, if this is a point that resonates for you, the question is, what can you do? So we may complain, okay, the leadership is not like this, or we may complain that my health is like that, or the government are like this. Okay, that may be true. But now I want you to focus in and think about where do you have the power to make a difference? What is within your control? And when will you do it? So that's the third point. The fourth one, and this was very interesting, there's a whole seminar Bhakti Tirtha Swami gave on the power of visualization. And he mentioned in the seminar that often what we do is we use our mind to harm ourselves. And he elaborated, he said, what happens in the life of many devotees is we're always constantly imagining all the things that we don't want. It sounds funny to say it, right? But I know I'm guilty of that. I definitely have done that many times in the past. And even worse, he was explaining how when you imagine an outcome that you don't want, and then you energize it with strong emotions, strong feelings, we can literally draw into our life a situation that is exactly the opposite of where we want to go in our journey. So this point about the rehearsal of dreadful outcomes, the way to switch this is to really, and there's two parts to this. Part A is to write down, what do you want? So I may be imagining some bad outcome, some bad situation. Now let me flip it. What is the situation I would like to see happen? Write that down in as much detail as you want. That's part A. And part B, start imagining that positive outcome. So we know the mind can be used, it's either the best friend or the worst enemy. If we don't consciously take the mind in a healthy direction, it will take us in an unhealthy direction. So that's number 4. And the last one, he says that this sense of worry and anxiety is a way out of proper planning. So again, there's a whole seminar called the importance of short-term goals, if you want to get into this topic more. But he says in that seminar that if we do not plan, the Maya will plan for us. I definitely have seen that in my own life, that where we leave a gap, where we're not harnessing our energies, talents, skills, networks, to really think about how do I do what my spiritual master has asked me to do. Where we're not doing that, the energy will be taken away in a different direction. I'll be honest, I remember being with Bhakti Tirtha Swami when he was in Gitanagari. He was in his house, and I remember him saying something that I heard him say in many classes. He was talking about our movement. And he said something, and I'll be honest, when he said it, it hit me so hard, because I saw when he said this that he was completely the opposite. He said, with our movement, we're often putting out fires. And when he said that, what really hit me very strongly was that he wasn't like that. Of course, he would deal with emergencies, but why was he able to be so influential with so many world leaders, celebrities, pioneering Krishna consciousness? Is because rather than waiting for the emergency to happen, he set out a positive, inspiring vision of what the future could look like. So the last point, that when we feel anxiety, it's often a way out of proper planning. What I'd like us to do with this particular point, if it resonates with you, is start practicing the habit of planning your day and your time. There's a term they use in business. It's called mission drift. So oftentimes a business may start, and after a while you find that the business is failing. Why is it failing? Because they've forgotten the goal of the business. So they're no longer looking at the competition. They're no longer pioneering new products, new services. They're just coasting. They're cruising. And because of that, after a while, they become completely redundant. And some new business, some new company, some new initiative completely takes over them. And then they just turn around and think, what the hell happened here? So Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was always this visionary, powerful visionary. Yes, dealing with emergencies as and when necessary, but casting a powerful, positive, potent future vision for Krishna consciousness. So from this, if this point number 5 resonates with you, I would like to invite you to make it a conscious part of your daily schedule to plan what you're going to do in the day. And don't leave gaps. And that doesn't mean that every day has to be a burnout. It doesn't mean you have to be running around. I saw Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and there's a study on this. It's so incredible. When I teach leaders, there's an article. It's from Harvard Business Review, and the article is called Beware the Busy Manager. And in the article, it talks about leadership. It says only 1 in 10 leaders are high-performing and purposeful. And then it lists the behaviors of those high-performing leaders. And what it lists as are the qualities that I saw Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj literally exemplify and personify. Whereas most leaders are pulling out fires, wasting time. They're doing stuff that's very busy, but not very useful and not very impactful. When I think back to my spiritual master, I remember sometimes seeing him in Gita Nagari outside of his house on a swing. And I saw him, and what was he doing? He was thinking. One of the number 1 traits of high-performing leaders is they have regular time to reflect what's going well, what needs a bit more attention. And because of that, they were able to see issues before the issue has even arisen. And they were able to deal with a situation when it was this tiny, small. Whereas other leaders would ignore this because they weren't reflective. And then only when the situation became a huge emergency, then all of their time and energy would now be sucked into that emergency. So this last point is around proper planning and really harnessing the direction of our time. Okay, I'm almost finished. So we've given you some things to think about. The last thing I'm going to go to, let me go to the next slide, is some practical solutions that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj also gives in this chapter of Spiritual Warrior 4. Again, the title of this chapter is chapter 1, Avoiding Excessive Anxiety. It's about 43 pages long. If you want to deep dive into this, feel free to get the book, look into this even more. So he gives these practical solutions. He says, number 1, it's important that we keep our mind busy. Even in our Western culture, we've all heard that the idle mind is a devil's workshop. There are so many devotees who could be so much more powerful, blissful, accomplished in Krishna consciousness, but we do not do enough to focus and engage the mind. I personally saw Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. He would have a list of activities, a list of goals that he wanted to achieve every day. And I saw him, he would go after one thing, get it done, next thing, get it done, always engaging his potency, his energies in a very powerful and focused way. The number 2 point that he gives is that we help and serve others. We know it's the nature of the soul to engage in service. So there's no question of being happy and satisfied if we're not honoring the very nature of the self, the very nature of the soul. And of course, when I don't engage in that spiritual activity of service, then I have to engage in some other activities to escape the fact that I'm unsatisfied because I'm not engaging in service. The 3rd point he talks about is what he calls avoiding the trifles. Some things are not so important. There's a saying that we should pick our battles carefully. You know, I was speaking to a God family member, and they had the mood that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj got into every battle. But I remember being a servant in 2004, and I saw firsthand how strategic he was, because he knew what his mission was. He knew what he had to do for Prabhupada. So he knew, okay, with the limited time and energy that I have, where should I invest it? And so, you know, he didn't, what's the word? He didn't sweat the small stuff. He didn't waste his time on things which are unimportant, insignificant. He focused his energies on where he can make the real difference and the real impact. The next one, number 4, he said, understand the influence of karma. And in that section, he elaborates on the fact that, look, we're not the controllers. So we can't, sometimes when we're trying to make something better, we have to do it with a spirit of detachment. I've seen so many devotees frustrated and burned out because they keep investing energy again and again and again in the same thing. And you can see clearly that Krishna wants them to understand that at this time, that's not going to change. So what's happening is they have a good intention and they want to make a difference. But what we're doing wrong is we're not looking for signs from Krishna. We're not noticing where Krishna is saying, yeah, I know you want to make a difference, but it's not the time to make the difference here. Do something else. So then we over endeavor. I remember Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj spoke about this when he was talking about his illness. And he said, and I know that Rajalila and 𝐒𝐰𝐴, they were caregivers. He tried so many things. And I remember him saying in classes, in darshans, but at a certain point, he understood, no, Krishna, this is an arrangement from Prabhupada because Krishna wants me to move forward in a certain direction. So yes, we should be change agents. Yes, we should try to improve the situation, offer service, but we do it with detachment, knowing that we're not the controller. So I'm making the offering, and ultimately I'm looking for signs from Guru, Prabhupada, and Krishna to see how I should continue in that area. Otherwise, what Maya will do is she will cause us to waste all our time and energy in an area that's not going to change, when that same time and energy used elsewhere would have made a fantastic difference. In ISKCON London, when I first came to the temple in my early years, what the devotees would go out on Sankirtan, and there was a church nearby. And so the people in the church, they had a strategy. They would pretend to go to the devotees on Sankirtan and pretend to be interested in Krishna consciousness when they had no interest whatsoever. And they would get the devotees on Sankirtan talking as long as possible. And in that way, they would distract them from the public who would have taken a book and could have been really interested and come forward. So that's the nature of Maya. If we're endeavoring, but we're not also conscious to see the signs from Krishna as to how that endeavor is being reciprocated. The last thing he talks about is establishing a worry time. So sometimes if we feel a sense of concern, okay, maybe we'll say, okay, I'm going to give myself 20 minutes. I'm going to speak about my concerns with a close friend. And after that, I'm going to commit to some positive, practical activity. So then what we do is we're putting some boundary around that worry and anxiety. So in summary, in this sense of anxiety and stress, there are so many different factors that play a role in our feelings. And we want to acknowledge that. When we're not machines, we have feelings, we have concerns, we have relationships. So there will be times where we feel a sense of concern. One of the most powerful things when I read this chapter that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj shared, he said something really, and he had a way of doing this. He could speak in a way which is incredibly strong, and it hit you. But because he's so loving, you're kind of thinking, did someone just hit me in the jaw? Like, did I break something? Or because it's like you're not sure if you're being given affection or if you've been chastised, and you're just kind of like, what just happened? So he said in the book, he actually explained that when we have excessive worry, it's a sign of lack of faith in Krishna. It's a sign of a lack of faith that Krishna is not in complete control. He's not the supreme controller, and he's not ultimately arranging everything for our ultimate well-being if we have the eyes to see and the will to reciprocate accordingly with the situation. So that's the key point here. What I wanted to do in ending is just share this. I think you can all see this on the screen. So I know that there was discussions earlier about Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's books, and the Harinam press team, they went out and they got some, and actually these new covers to the book, they just updated the covers, and by his causeless grace and mercy, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj agreed to write a testimonial for Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's Leadership 1 and Leadership 2 book. So what we're really trying to do is promote the books and encourage you to check them out yourself and to let your friends, family, associates know about the books. So I'll also be sharing these posts, these particular promotional posts on WhatsApp. But just, we're encouraging you, please let your contacts know that these books are out. They have new covers. As we said before, there is the forward, or rather the testimonial by His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. And I hope that was okay as a presentation. Like Rajalila, I don't want to go over time because I would like to come again next year. So I will stop there and say thank you very much. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Haribol.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you so much, Buddha Prabhu, for always enlightening us and also for sharing the practical solution to apply in our daily life and also the point on reflection. And we thank you for always being here and available for our session. Of course, we would like to welcome you next time and thank you for your support and also for being a source of inspiration. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right, so dear devotees, as it has been mentioned by all the good family, all the Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj disciple, we know that he has written so many books for our own benefit and also for humanity at large, which has been life-saving, despite he's not physically here, but the books are always still working like wonders in many people's life. So we invite you all to please join us together to watch a video on one on his book, which is Reflection on the Secret Teaching. It's on our screen now. Thank you.
Reflections on Sacred Teachings by Bhakti Tirtha Swami is a series of books dedicated to a deeper understanding of the Vaishnava scriptures and philosophy that not only aims to sharpen our minds, but also to soften our hearts with the sweetness of God's message and the written words of His devotees. In the first book, Bhakti Tirtha Swami explored the verses of Sri Chaitanya's Shri Shikshastakam from a contemporary perspective and helps modern devotees derive strength and realization from this timeless message, while reminding us of the important role we must play in carrying Lord Chaitanya's legacy to future generations. The second book explores the ancient text of Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur called Madhurya Kadambini. The word Kadambini means a long bank of clouds that are showering Madhurya, the sweetness of devotion. These clouds manifest over the environment to shower the Madhurya and extinguish the blazing forest fire of material attraction and attachments. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami explored these verses as a way of reminding the reader how such mentors and their teachings, although ancient, are as relevant now as they were in the past. The third book of the series presents to us the Sri Harinama Chintamani, which is the extraordinary conversation between the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotee Srila Haridas Thakur on the potency and efficacy of the holy name. The author leads us through this conversation step by step and enables us to hold on to the key of the holy name, unlocking the mysteries of our own pure and effulgent qualities. The fourth book explores the 18 mantras of the Sri Ishopanishad, which are meant to focus the mind in meditation on the Supreme Person, Sri Krishna. As Bhakti Tirtha Swami explains, we want to use our intelligence to open ourselves up to receiving divine intervention. We want to use our intelligence to truly understand how to become a genuine lover of the Lord. The fifth book presents to us the 64 principles for community given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that outline a perfect foundation for a spiritual society. Bhakti Tirtha Swami, being an embodiment of Vaishnava qualities, comments insightfully on these principles, helping us to overcome our difficulties when dealing with others and building an uplifting environment for spiritual advancement. The sixth book, Radha Sunya, Missing Mercy, brings to light a core principle of the Vaishnava philosophy, service to others. But when practicing devotional activities, one must be very careful to avoid making offenses. What are these offenses, how they harm our advancement, how to avoid them, and how to rectify from them are all important questions that will be answered in this book. Bhakti Tirtha Swami reminds us that the spiritual world is a place governed by respect, compassion, forgiveness, and love.
Hare Krishna, dearest devotee, we thank the devotees who have taken the effort to compile this nice video. And dearest devotees, if you need any, you would like to know more about the teaching of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami and also about his book, please do not hesitate to go on his website, which is www.bhaktiswami.com. And it will be shared in the chat box shortly. All right, thank you. And now we shall move on with this session, and now it's time for the devotees to share their offerings this evening with us. And our next speaker of the day is His Grace Madhusudan Prabhu, Madhusudan Vishnu Prabhu. He has been introduced to the Bhakti Yoga in ISKCON in 2007. In 2015, he joined ISKCON Temple as a brahmachari. At present, he is a teacher at a reputed institute such as BIHE and IBMV, that is ISKCON Bhagavat Mahavidyalaya. And also he's the academic head at HGSS, which is Radha Giridhari Homeschool, which is a very unique alternative children educational model. He gave numerous seminars in school, colleges, universities, and training programs, reaching out to thousands of people around the globe. And like visually term, His Grace Madhusudan Vishnu, like he's a shadow, he's a reflection of His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Damodara Swami Maharaj. We are very happy to have you with us this evening, Prabhu, and we kindly invite you to please create your offering for us. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Her Grace Naimisharanya Mataji, for the warm welcome and invitation. Also, my deepest gratitude to all the organizers of this wonderful event. My respectful pranams to His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Swami Maharaj and to all the exalted disciples of Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. All the devotees were assembled here. From a very small position, insignificant position, would like to share some flowers of gratitude at the feet of Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. I'm quite nervous because I'm asked to speak about an exalted personality in an exalted assembly. So we seek the blessings of all so that we can do this humble offering at the feet of Maharaj. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shri Yati Bhakti Tirthanam Damodara Namine Yati Shri Bhakti Tirthasya Gunabhava Anuvartine Sarvada Sarvabhaktanam Sarvarakshapadaine Shri Radhe Krishna Gauranga Gayasi Sarvada Prabhu Nityanand Kripamurti Pranamami Punah Punah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So I would like to read out my offering. My dear Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, please accept my most humble and respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. It is often difficult to decide where to start and how to start when it comes to speaking about exalted personalities like yourself. As the saying goes, it requires one to know one. But here for me, the situation is a bit perplexing and humbling because, to be honest, how little do I know about you? At the same time, what I know is itself an ocean, because you are such a personality, an oceanic personality. Of all the wonderful things about you that make us adore you is your ability to reach out to those who aren't that special. But just because you have reached out to them and have touched their hearts with your compassion, as His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj told us yesterday, those people became somewhat special. You are expert in making people feel that they are loved, unconditionally loved by Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees. Dear Maharaj, when I first read the biography on the life of Srila Prabhupada, your beloved Guru Maharaj, in my mind, I told myself, he is a real hero. When I read your biography, The Black Lotus, again, in my mind, I told myself, wow, what a charming personality. He is a real hero. And that you are, Maharaj. It doesn't need for me to say that. Those who have met you and those who have not, they know that. The whole world knows that. Your life and your teachings came as a rescue to me when I was drowned in the ocean of faithlessness and despair. Whenever I read your books, I can strongly feel that you carry such a divine potency, full of positivity, inspiration, enthusiasm, hope, compassion, pure love, and so on. Because a little contact with you makes us surcharged with those sublime energies. You have a heart that cares for all. And because you have such a pure and huge heart, we can feel your care for us. In the years that I've spent in this movement, I've gotten opportunities to serve directly and indirectly many Vaishnavas, and they have all reciprocated beautifully. But I feel no reservations to admit that whatever little we have tried to do in your service, the reciprocation that we have received in return from you has been overwhelming, as if you are completely there to help us. That is your greatness, Maharaj. We appreciate even a small, sincere effort with such gratitude that we get a glimpse of Krishna's gratitude. You can do so because you have mastered the art of dying to live for others, to give to others. Here, I would like to share a true incident, which you definitely yourself know. A close devotee friend of mine, who is a brahmachari in ISKCON now, he related this incident to me. His mother, who is also a devotee, is quite learned in many languages. So she was given the task of translating the book Reflections on Sacred Teachings, Part 6, Radha Shunya, in Hindi language. She preferred to translate this book in a period time when she was alone at home. So she expressed her feelings during those days to her son, who communicated to me. She mentioned in those days, she felt a divine energy surrounding her, which she never felt before. In her whole experience in Krishna consciousness, in those 10 days, she felt there was some personality with him which was looking after her, which was caring for her, which was supporting her, inspiring her. And from her sixth sense, she could understand this was none other than Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. So because she was doing some service for Maharaj, Maharaj was reciprocating in that manner. So here, Maharaj, I would like to make a humble appeal to you. My heart is a kingdom, and Krishna and his pure devotees are the actual owners of that heart who should be ruling that kingdom. But due to my own mischievous mentality, Maya Devi has conquered that heart. It has been hijacked by her. You are a spiritual warrior who can break all the barriers, as you are the perfect carrier of the message of pure love of Krishna. Please give me strength so that I can allow my helpers like yourself to help me give this heart back to Krishna and his pure devotees. That would be the success of my life. Also, I know that I can never ever, even in my dreams, think of becoming a spiritual warrior of the standard that you have set. But by your mercy and inspiration, I do wish to join your glorious spiritual army. You can kindly make me a small foot soldier or even an assistant to that in that army. I would consider that service as the perfection of my life. At last, Maharaj, if you allow, let me share my cherished desire. If ever by your mercy and by the mercy of my many spiritual masters, the pure devotees of Krishna, I get to go back home, back to Godhead, Of all the personalities whom I would like to meet, to see, to hear them speak, you would certainly be one amongst the foremost. In this life, I could not meet you physically. I don't want to miss that chance in the lives to come. However, all that will be possible only by your kind grace. Your insignificant grandson at the dust of your dancing lotus feet, Madhusudan Vishnudas. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Madhusudan Vishnu, for your heartfelt and deep offering. We are indeed humbled by it. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. All right. So now, dear devotees, we will be having another special little guest with us. She's a 10 years old little girl from Brazil who openly give online classes on Bhagavad Gita. Just imagine how fortunate she is. And she has sent her video offering all the way from Brazil, and we invite you to join us to watch her offering together. So now we will have Bhakti Liz from Brazil. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Bhakti Tirtha Swami, and all Vaishnava devotees. I'm Liz, and I have an offering to read, and let's do it. Some time ago, there was a man, or rather, deserted a man, because he left an unforgettable legacy. Well then, this man detached himself from his family and left India to the United States with almost nothing, only with the will to follow the instructions of his spiritual master and with faith that God, Krishna, would help him. I think you already know who this great man is. In all his books, his name is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. However, he is better known as Srila Prabhupada or simply Prabhupada. But why is he so important? Simply because he can help many people and will help people to realize. And today we're going to talk about one of those souls that Srila Prabhupada liberated, and that soul continued with Prabhupada was teaching. Well, the name of this other great soul is His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, a person who preached and helped others to end their material life. Okay, now let's tell the story of this great person. John Edwin Favors was born in the United States in a Christian family. From the start, John was shown to be very intelligent, and despite his speech difficulties, he soon stood out for his talents. But that's not the best part. After working for some time with Dr. Martin Luther King and at the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, he went to study at Princeton University, not a common thing for an African American at that time, and majored in psychology and yoga science. And now the best part begins. He interested in black consciousness, the powers of the mind, and Arthur's philosophy was sparked by his early inclinations, which led him to Krishna consciousness. Showing much interest, John was soon given the name of Ghanshyam and the mission of distribute books in the universities. He not only distributed in the universities of the United States, but also in the universities of Europe. Afterwards, he took the name Bhakti Tirtha Swami, preaching, teaching, enlightening the world. He wrote valuable books until the end of his days in the material world. Today, on his birthday, we wanna honor him, thank him for his wonderful work, and try to understand his sacrifice to help the whole world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much to our little Bhakti Liz. This was indeed the sweetest offering. And hearing her, we feel like our preaching movement will be secure with those little Vaishnavis and Vaishnavas for our future generation. Right. Thank you so much. And dearest devotees, we will move on with our session. And our next speaker who will be sharing his offering is His Grace Hrishikesh Prabhu. Hrishikesh Prabhu is an initiated disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Swami. He assists Shri Gurudev personally when Gurudev is visiting Ghana, and assists in many pujari services at Shri Radha Gopinath Temple. While he's still a student, he managed to be engaged in the service. We are very happy that you are here with us, Prabhu, and you can please share your offering. Thank you.
Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutala Shyati Putrana Mindaya Tanavana Tashapati Titasa Knabhavana Vazana Savra Sabakanam Savrash. Shri Krishna Granga Kaisi Sadri. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutala Shyati Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shtat Manishi Guru Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my offerings with everyone. So I will talk more about Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj visit, not visit actually, how he planted ISKCON in Africa. So and our appearance, devotees, how we appear before others in this world. So following the instructions of the spiritual masters to distribute books and spread Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj had to come to Africa. And me being a West African devotee, I know more about the West African side of the story. So when he came, it wasn't easy because preaching to an African in such an appearance, in a dhoti, kota, that time the only predominant religion was Christianity and Islam. So it was a very tedious act. But by Tirtha Maharaj being a spiritual master, a Swami, was able to grab some people who got attracted to him, and they helped Gurudev in setting up the foundation for ISKCON in Africa. So about the appearance, things being difficult because you can't approach, during that time, you can't approach an African in such looks, and he will be ready to accept and listen to whatever you're saying. So they propagated the methods of using blending with the African culture, So they had to appear like an African, just like we say if you go to Rome, act like a Roman. They had to appear like an African and to be able to speak to the African. So that's why in some videos you see Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj wearing the local clothes of African, all to preach out Krishna consciousness. So Africans, one thing I know about Africans is that we love it a lot when we realize someone, a foreign person is trying to practice our culture, our tradition. So lots of people grew liking into Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And through this means he used it to preach Krishna consciousness throughout West Africa. And we got to love him so much that he was installed as a king. And in Africa, being installed as a king, it's not an easy position. That's a lot of pleasure. But Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, being a Swami, he was able to transform this materiality into spirituality. And that is, he was able to transform these opportunities into preaching Krishna consciousness. And people realized, these Africans realized that it's perfect. His words were perfect, and they grew liking it to this point. So they appear now in our current times. We've realized that devotees, most devotees don't like to go out to train themselves as devotees and others. Just like Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, to be able to reach out to the Africans during that time, he had to sometimes transform into the African appearance. The same way it's also happening right now. But here's the case where we are rather feeling reluctant to show to the outside where the commies that we are devotees. For some reasons, that one I can't tell. To the extent of even taking off our neck beads today. But preaching is not only, there are very various methods of preaching. It's not always you go on Sankirtan, follow this person, you talk to. No, there are lots of ways of preaching and ways of kirtan, making people chant Krishna's name like this. I've had my experience just recently. I think Monday or Tuesday, I boarded these commercial vehicles, and there was someone in. I don't know this person, but it seems I've taken his car somewhere. That person was able to shout. He was able to call me by saying "Hari Hari." I was like, wow, I don't know this man, but just by seeing my neck beads and some small facial, he was able to remember himself that this is a devotee, and he was able to chant Krishna's name, Hari Hari, Radhe Radhe. The same way when we go to these streets outside, people see us in neck beads and they'll be shouting Hare Krishna, people. And that's our main goal. Our main goal is to give people the opportunity to chant Krishna's name. That's our main goal. Because we don't mind when we go on Harinam. We don't mind when we go on Harinam, and some people, everybody have their nature. Some people can see us, they're happy, they dance with us. Some also act like they don't care. They don't care. They just move on. Some people also get time to say all sorts of nasty things to us. But the fact, saying all these nasty things to us, and for example, let's say these Hare Krishna people, they are this, they are that, they are that. We don't mind saying all those things to us. We will accept it in the name of our service. We will accept it. But just by saying these Hare Krishna people, saying Hare Krishna is more than enough for us. It's more than enough for us. That gives us the opportunity to carry on Prabhupada's mission, carrying on Bhakti Tirtha Swami's legacy. And that's all we are looking for. But does not necessarily have to be you've been a devotee, you've met a devotee somewhere, but you don't want to practice devotion or mention even the holy name. And someone is outside there saying also, but mention the word Hare Krishna, that's more than enough. That's more than enough for us. Maybe that person, I can't say, but maybe that person can't be a devotee this lifetime, but who knows, his or next life, Krishna might. I don't know that person. So I like this to tell devotees on how they appear to the world, because it's not easy going to work and others with tilak on. This time it's not possible. It's not possible. But at least our neck beads preaches a lot, because sometimes you can walk in town, someone will call you, hey, because there are lots of people in town wearing necklaces and all those things. But you in particular, they will call you that, hey, what are you wearing? And that's the best opportunity to introduce Krishna to them. That's the best. So our devotees to have to be able to transform our appearance into preaching methods, because not everyone who can do this Sankirtan and everything. So just the same way Bhakti Tirtha Swami was able to blend himself into the African culture, just to preach Krishna consciousness, to turn this materialistic into spirituality. It was a great success because that was the arrangement of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. And now, due to all these things, I can say there are more than 15 temples and preaching centers in West Africa. So we would like devotees. We would like to thank Bhakti Maharaja a lot for all he has done for us. Because had it not been, maybe I wouldn't have even been here. He has done a lot for us, and ISKCON Africa is our foundation. So Mataji, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. I'd like to end here. Thank you very much, Krishna.
Sorry, we are just a bit out of time. Thank you so much for your nice offering and for reminding us of the hard work His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami did in Africa, but to extend it all around the world. We are grateful for your offering. Thank you. So now, dearest devotees, we shall move on to our next item of this evening. We will now be having a drama summarizing the teaching of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, performed by the the children in Mauritius from Bhakti Pallavi, Yeshi, Vishaka, and Sri Yash Krishna Prabhu. It's on your screen now. Thank you.
My back!
What happened to you?
I don't know. I'm feeling unbearable pain in my back.
Oh, try to relax and stand up little by little.
Ah, I can't stand up.
It seems serious. I am calling an ambulance right now.
No, an ambulance? Ah!
Look at you. You can't even stand up properly. How will you be able to move? I am calling one right now.
I'm sorry. Her condition is still the same after 2 months. There has been no improvement at all. It seems that her lower body part will be paralyzed for life. But if we haven't had the operation on time, she could have been fully paralyzed.
Thank God the operation was successful.
Thank God? Thank the doctors. We work hard to make her situation better. God have nothing to do with that at all. On the other hand, look at this girl. All her dreams have been shattered. Is this the justice of God? If God existed, would he have sat happily seeing all this? If even after this you tell me he exists, then he must be heartless.
The doctor is right, Mom. It was my dream to be a great dancer, and now it's impossible. I prayed to God to remove all inauspiciousness, and yet all this has happened. So what's the use of all these prayers?
Don't talk like this, Ria. Just because God didn't fulfill your desires, doesn't mean he does not exist. He is by himself and for himself. It would be selfish to say he does not exist or isn't good.
because he does not follow your criteria of expectations.
But what is good about all this pain and sadness?
What is seemingly bad in your personal view may have an impact on the endless possibilities happening in this universe. We often say, "Why me? Why me?" thinking that we all deserve better. But the reality is, the moment we choose to enjoy this material world, we already made the wrong decision which we are facing the consequences of. For momentary happiness, we came here to suffer the continuous miseries of this world.
But can't God see all these sufferings? Why doesn't He take us out of this place?
Because we don't want to leave this place. We still are after these momentary enjoyments. The question is not, why does He not take us out? The question is, are we ready to leave all this? Are we ready to leave this sense-gratifying mindset?
That's so true. I never thought like that. Where have you got this idea? Who taught you all these?
His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. He has been an exemplary devotee, showing us how to not get attached to this body. Some people might say that praying will give us success and no pain. But Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj was the one who was ready to give his life to enhancing everyone's spirituality, no matter what is their religion. And yet he suffered from cancer, having to get his leg amputated. Still, he thanked God for giving him the support of all the devotees. Instead of asking, "Why me?" or questioning the existence of God, he asked God to give him the pain of all the devotees around him. That was his mood, selfless and loving.
Wow, what a great personality. Glories to him.
Yes. Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj ki jai.
His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami ki jai. We would like to thank the children for having put so much effort in producing this drama on the teaching of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. All right, so dear devotees, now due to some technical issues, we couldn't display the previous session quiz result, which we will do quickly now on our screen. So the quiz result for session 3 is on your screen. So for question 1, the winner is Vanshika Mehta. For question 2, it is Pravin Kumar Kilaka. And for question 3, it is Gopi. And now we shall move forward to session 4 for the quiz result. First question, the winner is Nisha Sharma. Question 2, Vanshika Mehta. Question 3, Gaura Haridas Prabhu. Thank you. Now we shall move to the 5th session for today's session. So the winners for our today's session are, first question, Vanshika Mehta. Second question, Shesha Prabhu. Question 3, again, Vanshika Mehta. So like I have mentioned earlier, all these devotees who have come top first in every question will be eligible to get transferred to a draw, which we will now carry out the draw through a spinning wheel, which will appear on your screen, and all the winners' name has been put forward in it. And then we will spin the wheel 5 times, and the winner will be advertised. And then, like I said, this time there's no virtual gift. They will indeed get a gift, which will be delivered at their home, in whichever country they are, in whichever part they are around the world. So we invite the tech team to please launch the spinning wheel, and let's see who is our first winner of this evening. And here we go. And it's first winner of this evening. Radhamada Prabhu from India. Thank you. Now let's get the second winner on our way. And here it goes and goes on again and again. I think this time it is 𝐶𝐚𝐤𝐬 from Nairobi. A big praise to you. Thank you. And let's keep on spinning. And this time, okay, let's go from India. Okay, let's see. We have 2 more to go. Who will be the winners? And who will be blessed to have? So this time it is Nisha Sharma from Mumbai. And the final draw, let's see who's a lucky person, who's a lucky devotee, and from which. It's Gopi. So thank you so much. You're the winners. And as a gift, you will be offered a Bhakti Tirtha Swami book, which will be delivered at your place. Your yatra leaders will contact you and to see how you can organize to get you the gift. All right. So, and here we go. Just before we leave, we would like to, dearest devotees, we have come towards the end of our session, and which is quite painful. Okay, sorry. So on your screen now, it is the 5 winners of this evening, and a big Haribol for everyone. And very soon you will be receiving your gift at your place very, very soon. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, dearest devotees, so we are, like I was mentioning, we are coming towards the end of our program. Nearly there, but not the end yet. Dearest devotees, it has been an immense pleasure to have you here on board, on screen, with you all to come and share the special, precious moment of sharing the legacy of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Like, we got to know so many things about him, like his life is an inspiration, the way he has lived his life. So without your participation, without you coming to attend the program, dear devotees all around the world, it would not have been so blissful. So we thank you for being here with us. And we would like to thank His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, our dear most spiritual master, for always encouraging us to take initiative, for believing in us, for always finding ways to engage us. And the amazing fact about this program is that none of us, most of us have never met in this lifetime, like physically we have never met, but the family is united under the one roof, which is Zoom for now, but it's only by his mercy. So we thank you, Gurudev, for always being an inspiration and for always bringing us together as one big family, right? The last but not the least, now, like every time there's like some coordinators from 1 or 2 countries around the world who come together to make up this program for all of us, right? So this time we have the pleasure to call on screen Her Grace Yogini Devi Dasi from UK, who is one of the main coordinator. And the second one is Nitai Chaitanya Prabhu from Nairobi, Hare Krishna. And the third one is Matsya Prabhu from Brazil, who has come together. You can see from different parts of the world, and it is possible only by the mercy of the Acharya, of the spiritual master. Just like we have seen them working really hard, going through it in between work, meetings, but still trying to put this program forward. So we are deeply grateful for engaging all of us to come forward and to be engaged in this beautiful program and the wonderful video that has been made by Matsya Prabhu, contacting our different speakers, Yogini coordinating nearly the whole department. So we are so grateful that you have mercifully engaged us, and we look forward for more and more this type of services. Right? It has been rightly said, Bhakti Tirtha Swami rightly said it, when the desire to serve is beyond our capacity, yet we act without hesitation, that is a moment empowerment happen. And yesterday, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj rightly mentioned it. everyone who's formed part of this program, it's an expressway back to Godhead. So we really got our blessing. But thank you, dearest devotee. I will leave the screen for Srila Gurudev to address a few words. Srila Gurudev, it's all yours. Thank you.
Before I say something, I would like His grace, a grace. A good blessing to all of you. Yeah, really senior. And a child cannot survive without the mother. So I'd like us to bless all of you.
Jai Hare Krishna. Jai Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj ki jai. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Maharaj ki jai. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Okay, you are welcome to share.
We are very, very happy with everyone. There are many other devotees who you never see throughout the whole period. Some just came for today a few days. The majority of them are not doing that. But they have been working behind everything. And we feel very happy that the purpose of organizing this Vyasa-puja is to bring everyone together so we can have good association and remembering the pure devotee. It is said that to remember a pure devotee, you get all the qualities. So our charities are very, very expert and very compassionate. They always make arrangements how we can make advancements in our Krishna consciousness. So we're very, very happy that this took place for 3 days of them together. And hearing, associating with pure devotees, many senior devotees, such number Maharaj, His Holiness Chandramani Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Maharaj, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. We have very wonderful devotees, His Grace, Srivas Banachari, and all other devotees who are not here. They have indirectly and directly contributed to wishing everyone well. This offering to Gurudev is a success. We humbly pray that Gurudev's blessings will be with all of you, and your Krishna consciousness becomes successful. Hare Krishna. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, Vyasa-puja 2022 ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Gurudev. Thank you, all the wonderful devotees around the world, all the disciples of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, all the well-wishers. Thank you for being with us. So now let us take in heart and cherish this 5 wonderful sessions with devotees assembled from all around. We just cherish it, and even if we are parting for now, but we look forward to have you all in our forthcoming session. And until we meet, thank you so much. Stay tuned, stay connected. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bancha kalpatara vyasa kripasana vidya patitanam parinyo vaishnavyo namo namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness
Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
His Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Maharaj ki jai.
Pura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All right, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna from here.
I want to ask all of you, along with myself, if you feel uncomfortable, you feel imposed upon, I apologize. I'm not interested in just preaching at any time. I try to preach to convince and to transform. Because my feeling is that we are all to be slaves of Srila Prabhupada. Not just servants, but slaves. And therefore, we know Prabhupada's mercy is huge. And we don't want to embarrass him by being mediocre or by being stagnant or sabotaging his mercy coming through. So I would like us all to make a prayer that whatever things that we need to personally experience to be able to become a greater servant of Srila Prabhupada's mission, that these things speed up in our lives. And the other part of this prayer is whatever we need to have taken away in our lives in order to be a more fit servant of Srila Prabhupada's mission at this time on the planet, that happens. Let me just go over that again, and I'm stopping now. That we'd like as many of you as possible, as we're chanting, yes, we're chanting we're chanting the mantra, and everything is there. But Krishna says, always think of me. And Vandanam, prayer, is an essential part of the Angas of Bhakti. And we see Srila Narottam Das explains 10 special types of prayers that Vaishnavas make. Sometimes we minimize the potency of daily prayer. Then what is our mind doing all the other times? We got to be mindful. Chanting out loud, chanting internally, prayerful, constantly, coming before the Lord in a mindful state, I'm presenting myself. We'd like as many of you as possible to make this prayer. Whatever that's necessary to help us to become a better servant in Prabhupada's mission, that whatever things are necessary, it doesn't matter. Whether it means we get sick, whether we die soon, whether we lose money, whether our husband leave, our wife leave, whether we become infamous, whatever that will help us individually to be a better servant of Srila Prabhupada, that we pray that will happen and will speed up, and whatever things need to be taken away, that we pray that it be taken away. It doesn't matter. Whatever is genuinely going to help us individually in this lifetime to speed up our ability to receive the Lord in this big way, so that we create more and more the community that gradually becomes just more and more like the spiritual world. Prabhupada has given us embassies all over the world in these temples, and he is a major ambassador, and he ain't gone. He's just physically in a situation, but he is more concerned than ever before. Isn't it natural that when you are a caretaker, you are concerned even more when you're not around about how things are dealt with? How many are willing to make that prayer? We're in front of the Lord. Yes. If you're not, it's up to you. We're ready. So we are accepting that at this time the bar has gone up for our movement all around the world, and we're accepting that we are going to upgrade ourselves. This is wonderful, because as each of us increase our devotion, it becomes easier for every devotee. Every time there is acceleration in individual's consciousness, it creates a greater support system to enhance the bhakti. Every time a devotee deviates, it brings more static in the culture of devotion. So the prayer you have just made will assist us all in being better servants by bettering ourselves.
Have you ever seen somebody in whose heart there's so much purity? Have you ever seen somebody in whose heart there's so much love? Have you ever seen somebody whose life is all austerity? When he smiles, you smile. When he cries, you feel his love for Radhesham. When he smiles, you smile. When he cries, you feel his love for Radhesham. Swami Bhakti Tirtha Krishna Pad Jaya Swami Bhakti Tirtha Krishna Pad Jaya Swami